20-year-old hospital patient transporter, Terrence Mayers, is suing his ex-girlfriend, 21-year-old clothing salesperson, Nicole Reedy, for breaking an apartment lease. Nicole is countersuing, claiming she paid Terrence's bills while he was unemployed.
Mr. Mayers, you and Ms. Reedy had a relationship and decided to move into an apartment together. You signed a 6-month lease. According to your complaint, the defendant moved out 2 months shy of the 6 months. Is that right?
Correct.
And you want her to be responsible for her portion of the lease because you moved in together with the understanding that you would each be responsible for 50% of the bills.
Correct.
In addition, you want her to be responsible for some furniture that was purchased, I assume purchased for this apartment.
Correct.
You claim that the furniture was purchased because the defendant wanted the furniture, so you purchased it on your credit card.
Right.
You have the furniture.
In storage, yes, I do.
But you want her to pay for it because she wanted it.
Right.
Ms. Reedy has a counterclaim. She says for the majority of the time that you lived together, you weren't working. She paid the bills. So she's got a counterclaim, is that right?
Yes.
When did you move out?
I moved out in May, but I still paid that rent. We both did not physically move out until June, the beginning of June.
Okay, so nobody paid June's rent and nobody paid July's rent.
I paid June's. The lease actually goes through August.
So it's really just July and August.
Right.
2 months, not paid. Where were you working in February of 2003?
I was working for Manpower, and I have a letter stating the dates that I was employed through them.
Let me see the letter. Okay, so you worked for them until March of 2003.
Correct.
Who did you work for after March?
In May, I began working for...
Just a second. So you didn't work for anybody in April?
No, ma'am.
Who paid the rent in April?
I borrowed money from my older brother, and...
Show me.
I don't have that with me.
You weren't coming to a dance today, so you were coming to court. So who paid May's rent?
We both paid. We split it.
Could you split it if you weren't working?
I borrowed money from my brother.
Again, and you have no proof of that, is that right?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's talk about April and May's rent. Do you have proof that you paid it?
I have proof for May's.
That'll do.
These are, I had to do money orders, and the rent was $5.95. There's one for $4.95 and one for $100.
Now, let's talk about the rent. He says he borrowed money from his brother. Is that true?
No, it is not. That is a lie.
Who paid the rent?
I did.
When he wasn't working?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Mayers, I want you to start off with this premise, sir. The premise is that I do not believe you borrowed money from your brother to contribute to the rent. Okay?
Okay.
That she paid the rent for those 2 months because you were out of work. Now, there are 2 months left remaining on the lease. That's pretty much a quid pro quo. Pay it. We understand each other?
All right.
Good. Now let's talk about the furniture.
We both, when we first moved into the apartment, we went down to IKEA, and we picked out furniture. So we went to go apply for an IKEA card. She was denied. She had overextended her credit, so I ended up having to put it on mine. And when she moved out, you know, I tried to, you know, work things out to where we both pay this bill off, but she ignored my phone calls. And
well, but you have the furniture.
she didn't want it. When she moved out, she just took the bed, and that was it.
Go ahead, I'll hear you.
When we moved out, I stated to him that whoever takes the furniture should take the bill, and he told me he was taking everything.
Now, Miss Reedy, I'm going to get to your counterclaim. You're entitled to nothing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you wrote in your answer, we lived together as a married couple. He was out of work for a while. You covered the rent. You moved out. He's got to pay the last 2 months. That's a wash. You understand?
Yes.
So, you got the furniture?
Yes, ma'am.
You pay the bill. She covered 2 months when you were out of work. You cover the last 2 months.
There's still utilities, and I add on like the water bill and things
Listen
like
to me.
that.
For the months that you were out of work, she paid those bills.
She didn't pay all the bills by herself.
Well, sir, listen to me. You're not going to find a court that's going to go over an $11.95 bill and say, well, she didn't pay the whole thing. You were out of work. She covered the bills, because I don't believe that you borrowed money from your brother. When she moved out, and she had no right to move out sticking you with the rent, if in fact you're going to pay the rent to the landlord and not make him chase you all over town, you cover that bill because she did when you needed her. Right? Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Already started making.
As soon as she turned 21, she'd go out every night and drink and party and stuff. You know, that's not my lifestyle. It's not how I do it.
He had gone out all the time with his friends and stayed out till 3, 4 in the morning. And if I go and do it, I get yelled at and told I'm never to do that again.
She ended up getting a restraining order on me, and I harassed her and her family.
He started calling me every day at work, at home. He started cussing me out over the phone.
I'm stuck now with paying the bill that, you know, we should both be having to pay.
I was glad just to be out of the relationship.
Student Eileen Martinez is suing 25-year-old homemaker Shauna Knapp for choking her during an argument at a gas station. Shauna is countersuing, claiming Eileen started the fight.
Yeah, this is case number 56 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Knapp. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Well, on the 3rd of January of this year, one of you two ladies had a really bad day. I don't understand it when women fight with each other over who's first at a gas pump, but I guess I'm going to find out. So, Miss Martinez, this happened on January 3rd, according to your complaint. I would like you to tell me where it happened, what time it happened, who pulled up to the gas pump first, and how it was that Miss Knapp assaulted you, because Miss Knapp said that you were the one who assaulted her, and she's counterclaiming. Is that right, madam?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I was at the gas station waiting for the pump. Somebody was ahead of me, and so I waited until the person finished, and I started pulling forward when Mrs. Knapp just came rushing in, parked her van counter-wise, and she got out of the car. I got out of my car to let her know that I was waiting for the pump first. And she said, well, I don't give an F. And she started screaming.
Who was in the car with you?
My daughter.
You were.
Yes.
So what happened next?
I got back in my car. I thought she was going to leave. And I said, well, okay. Then I go ahead and use the pump.
So she moved her car.
Yeah.
And where did
I
she
saw
move
her
it to?
leaving.
Oh, so she moved out of the gas station?
Yes.
No.
Get to you in a minute. All right. Go ahead. Come on.
I started pumping the gas, and she came around to the other side.
To the other side of the pump.
To the other side of the pump. Now we're facing each other, and she told me, what the F are you looking at? And I said, well, ma'am, I told you very politely that I was waiting for the pump first. And here comes her mother screaming at me, saying, well, no, you didn't, because I heard your mouth all the way inside the car.
She was in the car with her mother.
Yeah.
All right. Would you move up to the assault? How do you allege she assaulted you?
And the two ladies, they're screaming at me now. And Miss Knapp, she said something to me, and that's when she punched me. And I went against my car, and when I realized what was going on, I had the two ladies on top of me.
She and her mother?
She and her mother. She had me by the neck.
Never touched her.
She had me by the neck.
Go ahead.
And two men came to take the two ladies off from me. They pulled the...
Did you have any injuries?
Yes. She shifted the bones on my neck.
Do you have any reports from a doctor?
Yes.
Can I
do.
see everything that you have, please? I see this photograph that shows a bruise on your back.
On my back.
Was that as a result of being pushed on the car?
Yes.
Okay. So you went to a chiropractic clinic on the 11th, and your complaint was neck pain radiating into your arm as a result of an assault. On the 4th, you went to the hospital, and the doctor there notes that you had a bruise or crushing injury of the deep tissue in the back. Okay, Ms. Knapp, now I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened, please.
When I pulled up to the gas station, there was two cars on the side that her car was on. I didn't know that there was anybody in the white car, which was the car that they were in. So when the car that was in the middle pulled away, I went to pull up, and she just zipped right up. And if I hadn't hit my brakes, she would have hit the front end of my van.
Well, then what you're saying, Ms. Knapp, is you didn't see her because she was short? Ms. Knapp?
More or less, yes. Because it didn't look like there was, from the angle that my van was sitting at, it didn't look like there was anybody in the car.
Then you were wrong.
I was wrong, yes.
Fine.
I was wrong.
So what happened at that point?
I got out to make sure that, you know, when I hit my brakes, I got out just to make sure that she didn't bump my car, I didn't bump her or whatever. And
Well, you would have heard that if somebody bumped a car.
yeah, you're right.
So you got out of your car.
It was a
and-
reaction more than anything.
Listen to me carefully. So you got out of your car,
Yes. I got out and I went around, and she got out and started saying that I was in her way and she was there first, and I was just like, okay, whatever. You know, she was mouthing off, and I just
mouthing off.
I
What
blew
did
it
you say?
off.
Shh. Pay careful attention. You got out of your car.
Yes.
For no reason, and she said to you, "I was here first."
And she was asking me, how am I supposed to pump my gas if you're in the way?
Right.
So
And did you answer her?
I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't see you sitting there.
Oh, good. So you said, listen to me. So you said to her, I'm sorry, I didn't see you sitting there. And what did you do next?
I turned around, I got back in the van, and I moved my van because
Good.
it just wasn't worth arguing over.
Perfect. So what happened next?
I drove around because the two cars that were on the other side of the pumps had left, so I just pulled around to go on that side and pump my gas.
Great. And what happened next?
I got out and I started pumping my gas, and she's just standing there staring at me, and I was just like, what? What are you looking at? And she just kept staring at me, and finally I was just like, what? What are you staring at me for? And she started yelling at me.
What did she say when she started yelling at you?
She's like, you got
No,
the way.
da-da-da. Listen to me. Listen to me. Shh. Miss Knapp, you da-da-da is not an answer. What was she saying to you?
She's like, you were in the way. Why didn't you just move? You knew I was there first. No, I was like, no, I didn't. I was like, I didn't know anybody was in the car. I said, as far as I knew, somebody was in the...
Miss Knapp, that didn't happen. This last portion of what you just told me never happened. You just made that up. This lady didn't continue, as she was pumping her gas, to complain to you about, I can't pump my gas, your car was in the way. That doesn't happen because that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. It's not true. So forget that part of it because that's not true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what your problem is? I'm going to tell you what your problem is. You pled guilty.
I didn't plead guilty. I pled no contest.
Same difference.
And later today,
How did he obtain temporary custody?
I went to Fairview Riverside Chemical Dependency for alcohol.
Did he also have a drinking problem?
No.
You were aware of her drinking problem, sir?
I was.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eileen Martinez claims Shauna Knapp choked her during an argument over a gas pump.
Okay. Now you tell me your version of how she assaulted you.
I kept telling her just to drop it,
Just
leave
to
it
drop
alone,
it. So
because
you're
she
telling
was-
her to drop it.
She was pumping her gas, I was pumping mine, and as far as I was concerned, it was over with.
Good.
And she kept yelling at me, and why don't you just shut up then? I'm like, well, shut up and leave me alone, and I will shut up. And she kept yelling, and finally I was just like, look, I'm pregnant, I've got a lot of stuff to do, I don't need this right now, just leave me alone. I must have told her 10, 20 times just to leave me alone.
So what happened next?
And that's when she came flying across the gas pump at me.
How-
If I hadn't have pushed her, she would have slammed right into
So
me.
she came, just a second, she came flying across. She came flying.
She came at me.
She came at you, and you did what?
When she was coming at me, I pushed her away from me, because if I hadn't, she would have ran right into me.
Right. And then what happened next?
She came back at me again, except this time when I went to push her away from me, she tangled her hand up in the neckline of my shirt, which she tore my shirt up. I've got, the neckline of my shirt is destroyed. This was a brand new shirt.
Terrible.
I was trying to push her away from me, but I couldn't.
So what did you do?
I backed her up against her car, and I was just holding her there. She's claiming I punched her in the face, but I never swung at her. Because the jewelry I have on is the jewelry I always wear. If I had hit her with that ring on, she would have been cut or bruised or
I'm still
something.
listening to how she assaulted you.
She came flying across the gas pump at me.
She still hadn't touched you, madam. You were the one who pushed her.
She was
You wanna
swinging at
tell
me as she was coming across.
Madam, you're making it up as you're going along. Now, Miss Knapp, you know what your problem is? I'm going to tell you what your problem is. You pled guilty.
I didn't
In
have
the
a
crime-
choice.
Listen to me. You pled guilty.
I know I did.
You always have a choice. You were arrested for assault.
I was not arrested.
You were given a summons for assault. You appeared before a judge. You gave me a whole big story that your husband was scheduled to go to Iraq, and you were going to
Which
have
is
a
where he's
baby,
at right
and you
now.
were going to move, and a whole song and dance. So you had no choice but to go in and plead guilty. Is that what you're going to tell me?
Yes, ma'am, because it's the truth.
Okay. So let me tell you about your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is out the window, because when one pleads guilty to assault, which is what you did, you can't then turn around and sue the complainant and say, you assaulted me. Because the court found beyond a reasonable doubt, based upon your plea, that you assaulted her.
You know, she claims that I hurt her so bad. Why did she go to the magistrate's office and press charges the same night that this happened instead of going to the hospital, which is what I did. I went to the straight to the hospital after this happened.
Did you have a report from the hospital showing any bruises or contusions on your body?
I didn't have any bruises because
you bruised her. You managed to get her away from you.
I didn't touch her.
You did. You just told me you touched
Yeah,
her.
I backed her up against the car, but that's all I did.
Right.
She's the one that hauled off and kicked me after the scuffle was even over.
I don't believe you.
Well, you weren't there.
It doesn't make sense that this woman who weighs maybe 100 pounds, started up with you, and you've had your baby already, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
I had
And
to
at
get juice because of her.
Listen to me carefully. So at that time when you had your baby, you're a pretty big woman now, you were another 40 pounds heavier? Yeah, right, every bit of it. So it doesn't make sense to me that this woman who weighs 100 pounds is going to start up with somebody who weighs 200 pounds.
Weight doesn't count for intelligence. So
you're absolutely right.
Because I tried to back away from it, and she wouldn't leave it
You're
alone.
absolutely right. What happened was you lost your temper. You pulled in front of her car. Your mind was someplace else because there wasn't only one person sitting in her car. There were two people sitting in her car. And you didn't see her. And she got out of her car. She said, "What are you doing?" And she zipped right up. That really annoyed you. You may have been having a bad day. Your husband is getting ready to go. You're 9 months pregnant. You may have had it up to here, and you overreacted, but you didn't behave appropriately. I don't even have to make that judgment here, although I'm trying to get it through to you. Quiet. You pled guilty. That means beyond a reasonable doubt you are guilty of assaulting her.
I didn't plead guilty. I pled no contest.
Same difference.
Well, I didn't know that at the time.
Same difference. Well, if you didn't know it at the time, somebody didn't give you good advice. I'm here to give you good advice. Judgment for the plaintiff, and the amount requested, $4,000, and your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She lied to the police, she lied to the judge, and she got away with it. That's all it was.
I think she and her mom, they had a bad day and they took it out on me.
I kept telling her to back off and just leave it alone because it was over with. She didn't want to do it.
She was using foul language.
Oh, it probably could have been handled a different way, but, you know, I'm not the one that started it.
I hope she learned her lesson.
Yeah, she's $4,000 richer, but I don't care.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lightheart versus Prentice. Step forward, please.
Roofing salesman Mark Lightheart is suing his ex-girlfriend, apartment manager Rhonda Prentice, for a loan to regain custody of her youngest daughter. Mark says Rhonda lost custody when she went into rehab.
Mr. Lightheart, you and the defendant, according to what I read, were involved in a relationship. You loaned her a substantial amount of money in order for her to retain the services of an attorney that she needed for a custody case. Custody case involving
My 6-year-old daughter.
and you are no longer together. You claim this was clearly a loan. She was supposed to pay you back. The defendant says that there was no way this was a loan. This was a gift because you knew how important it was for you to have custody of your daughter. Is that right?
Right.
And the child was with your former husband? Or were you not married to the father of that child?
Right. He's had temporary custody since last April. So I'm.
How did he obtain temporary custody?
I went to Fairview Riverside Chemical Dependency for alcohol.
And how long were you in rehab?
3 weeks.
Okay. Tell me how it came about that you asked him to give you this money.
Shortly after I got out of the hospital last year, April 4th, that's when I had found out that my ex-husband took temporary custody. So the minute I walked out of treatment, I was running for an attorney.
And you found one?
Correct.
And then what did you do?
That's when I talked to him and had asked him if he'd be willing to help, and he said he'd do basically, you know, anything. It was my daughter, and we're in a relationship.
And there was never any discussion about repayment? He said, I'll do anything necessary to help you.
Basically, yeah.
Well, not basically.
Yes.
Is that what he said to you? I'll do anything
Yes, he
to
did
help
say
you.
it. Right.
Okay, and how long had you been involved in a relationship with him, Miss Prentice?
The fall before, so August or September.
And you had lived together?
I had an apartment, and then he was going to move in. And he did, but then he moved out.
How long did you live together?
A couple weeks, I think he only stayed there.
And that was after he gave you the money?
Correct.
Okay, but you had dated and were in a relationship for a substantial period of time before you went into rehab?
Yes.
Did he also have a drinking problem?
No.
You were aware of her drinking problem, sir?
I was.
And you were together for how many months prior to her going into rehab?
Probably about 9 months.
Did she call you on the telephone, or were you together when she discussed this money with you?
Both. She'd asked me and begged me and for about a week and said that she would pay me back, and I had finally said, you know, yeah, I would borrow her the money.
When she got out of rehab, where was she working?
During the rehab, I believe she had got terminated from her job.
So she wasn't working.
Right.
So what did you expect her to pay you back immediately with?
If it was not to go to a jury trial, the money that I borrowed her was not going to be used for attorney fees, so she was going to pay me back the
So she was just going to give it back to you?
Correct.
And if it did go to a jury trial, where did you expect her to get the money from to pay you back?
She was expecting to get her child back, and she would have gotten child support in the amount of $1,300, and that $1,300 she was going to pay me per month.
And what was she going to support her child on?
That I don't know.
Okay. So how much money did you give her?
I borrowed her $7,000.
First of all, the word is loaned.
Loaned.
You loaned her, according to you, and she borrowed.
Yep.
She says it was a gift. I don't see how you could loan her money if she had no way of repaying you. Tell me about that, sir.
It was under my understanding that I was going to get paid back the loan amount within, whatever, 4 months total time, if not immediately.
I don't buy it. Sir, I could imagine that if you're in a relationship with somebody and she says, I'm desperate and I need money, and you know she has absolutely no way of paying you back, the likelihood of the case going to trial is great, then she certainly wouldn't have money to pay you back because the only money she would get would be child support. She wasn't working. So there was really no way that you could even expect to be paid back. You probably expected to have a long-term relationship with her. Is that a fair statement?
At that time, no, because we weren't really going out. We were still talking, but we weren't in a relationship at the time I borrowed her the money.
You were in a relationship, sir, because you moved into her home. I don't care if it was for 2 weeks. What do you call that? Your house was being painted? Anything else you want to tell me?
Well, during our relationship, she had gotten a settlement from her ex-husband, and she had bought a car cash with this money. When I loaned her the money, she agreed that if she was not able to pay me back the money, she would take out a loan against the car to at least help me recoup some of the cost.
Is that right?
We had talked about...
Just a minute. Did you agree to take out a loan against your car?
Well, months later, after when he was telling me he was down and out.
What kind of car is it?
Ford Taurus, 98.
It's an older car. How much did you expect for her to get against that car?
We agreed that she would take out a loan against the car.
Go ahead.
I'd called my banker. He's a personal friend, and the loan value on the car was $3,500.
So that the only money that you really anticipated getting back was money that you could get as a result of taking a loan out against her car.
Had I known I wasn't getting any money back, I would have never have loaned her any money.
That's too bad. I'm smarter than you are. You're not going to get over on me. You understand?
Correct.
Good. I will prepare an order that she is directed to take out the loan against her car through your friend. Do you understand the order? Good. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Rhonda knows that she borrowed me the money.
I did feel bad because he was nice enough to do it.
I finally fed up with it. She wasn't paying me back any money.
He did a lot of things for us, a lot of nice things.
I was totally taken advantage of.
I feel bad.
I don't talk to her anymore.
I still like him.
24-year-old car salesman Robert Mack Jr. is suing his former friend, 24-year-old concert producer Joshua Lopez, and his brother Eric Windnagel for the value of a car. Robert says Joshua stole the title.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. This is case number 119 on the calendar in the matter of Mack versus Lopez Windnagel. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Mack, it is your claim that you sold a car to one of these defendants. I don't know which one. Which one? Lopez?
Yes.
I don't know who you are. Sit down.
You said that.
Sit down. You sold a car to Mr. Lopez, and he hasn't paid you for the car.
That's correct.
Mr. Lopez says he did not buy a car from you. He bought a car from somebody whose name is Mr. Stanley. You were merely the go-between. He owes you a finder's fee, and he wishes he could find Mr. Stanley because he owes him money, too, and he hasn't paid him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And where's the car?
The car's in my garage.
Okay, so you're lucky. You have a car, but you haven't paid for it, and you haven't paid the finder's fee, right? So you have everything.
Correct. As of right now, yep.
Perfect. Okay, Mr. Mack, tell me about this car and the surrounding circumstances of the sale.
I agreed to buy a car off of Mr. Stanley, who's present in the courtroom.
That's Mr. Stanley.
Yes, it is.
Nice to see you.
And we had negotiated a price. I had showed, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You agreed to buy a car from Mr. Stanley.
That's correct.
What year car was this?
1990.
1990 what?
Chevy Cavalier, two-door.
Was it running?
Yes.
Tell the truth. I'm sorry.
And Mr. Stanley,
Yes, ma'am.
what were you going to sell him the car for? How much? Mr. Stanley, look at me. That's not a hard question, sir. The questions are going to get harder.
Oh, I sold the car to Mr. Mack for $500.
On what date did you sell it to him for $500?
On around the end of July.
End of July doesn't help me, sir.
Maybe July 29th, 2002.
And why were you selling it?
Because my wife and I built a new house and we had to move it. It was in the driveway and it was off the road.
Because it wasn't running.
No, it did run.
Did it run the length of the driveway, or could you take it on a trip to Canada?
You could have took it on a trip to California, Your Honor.
No, you
Perfect.
couldn't.
So you were selling this well-running car that you could drive cross-country for $500 to Mr. Mack.
Right.
Okay, Mr. Mack. Now, Mr. Lopez was a friend of yours, is that right?
An acquaintance.
Acquaintance, who you knew was looking for a car, and you told him that you had a car.
That's correct.
When did you sell him the car?
Well, right after I had purchased the car from Mr. Stanley. I had shown Mr. Lopez
You mean
the car.
a day later?
Yes,
So say July 30th, you sold it to Mr. Lopez for how much?
that's correct, for $1,000. I had shown Mr.
He's lying.
Lopez the car. I had shown Mr. Lopez the car. He agreed that he liked the car. I told him I wanted $1,000 for it.
He's lying.
Mr. Lopez,
I'm sorry,
I don't
Your
want you to say anything until
Yes,
I
ma'am.
ask you a question.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were going to make a quick $500.
That's correct.
How do you know Mr. Stanley?
Friends with his son.
How did you come to a price of $500, sir?
That's what I had into the car. To get it back in running condition, I had new brakes, rotors, tires, exhaust system.
So why did you want to sell it for $500, sir?
That's what I had into it. I sold the house, I had to move the car.
Fine. Now, when you sold the car to Mr. Mack, did you turn over the title to him? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Did you have the title?
Yes.
Did Mr. Mack pay you for it?
He gave me $300.
So he hasn't paid you for it.
Then Mr. Lopez and Mr. Mack came to the house, and Rob Mack told me that Lopez was buying the car. I didn't ask how much. I said, "You going to be able to pay for the car?" He said, "Yeah. My brother's got a
Taco stand.
Could you do me a
stand
favor?
or
Don't help him out.
Yeah.
a taco stand or a hot dog stand at the carnival.
Just a second.
I'm going to
So
work
what
at.
you're telling me, Mr. Stanley, is that Mr. Mack agreed to purchase your car for $500 on the 29th of July. You did not turn over the title to him. You did not make an exchange of any documents with him, but he gave you $300.
Right.
And you have not been paid the other $200. Is that right?
No. Robert Mack gave me another $100. I gave him the title because we were in the shuffle of moving.
Just a second. So now you've got $400 towards the total purchase
Right.
price of the car.
And he still owes me.
So you're still owed $100
Right.
on the car.
Right.
Okay. Who's got the title to the car? You do.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Now, sit down for a moment,
Thank you.
please. Okay, so as far as you're concerned, Mr. Mack, you got how much money from Mr. Lopez?
Like $20.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lopez, you
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
your version of this fairy story.
That was a good story they came up
Okay,
with.
let me hear your version of it, sir.
End of July, around July 25th, 26th, me and Mr. Mack were together. I said I was talking to him about I needed a car, and he said, well, I know somebody that's got one. He's selling it for $200. Let's go look at it. All right, let's go. We went out there that minute. I believe it was in front of his daughter's house. It looked like it was sitting there about 2 years or maybe a year. It had weeds around it. I really didn't care. I just needed a winter car, so I was like, okay. Me and Mr. Mack went to in the back of Mr. Stanley's house where Mr. Stanley was doing something with his horses. And Mr. Mack told Mr. Stanley, I got a buyer. You know, can we get the keys? Mr. Stanley said, you know what, I'm doing something right now. Come back in about an hour. I'll have the keys for you. Me and Rob then went back to the car again so I could just look over it while we're waiting for Mr. Stanley to get the keys. We open the door and there's bees all in there.
Bees?
Bees nest, yes, ma'am. So me and Mr. Mack go to the gas station about a mile down the road and get Hornet spray, come back, spray it all out. Open the hood, there's more bees. Like I said, we cleaned out all the bees. By that time, Mr. Mack's ready to go to
Just
Mr.
a
Stanley.
second. So far, does that sound like something that could have happened? You don't make up that story, right?
Oh, that could have happened.
Yeah. You don't make up that story. I mean, you can make up a lot of stories, but that story you don't make up, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said acquaintance. I've known this gentleman for over 8 years.
If Mr. Mack wants me to believe him,
He's an
you were
acquaintance.
merely an acquaintance
Right.
because when somebody is a friend, you wouldn't screw him like he screwed you.
You're right.
And later today,
Do you have any evidence here?
No, I don't have any evidence.
So you have no evidence. You're coming to court. You have to bring more than a smile when you come to court.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Mack Jr. claims former friend Joshua Lopez owes for a car he bought from his friend. Joshua claims Robert is pulling a scam.
Go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, me and Mr. Mack went back to Mr. Stanley's house. By that time, he finally gives us a single key on a ring. I don't know, might have had a little ornament or something on it. And we go back, start it up. I said, well, can I drive it up and down the road, you know? And Mr. Stanley was not present at the time. It was just me and Mr. Mack. I drove it up and down the road. It was okay. He said, how do you want to get back to Lockport? I said, I'll just drive it. No registration, no insurance, no plates, no nothing. I'll just
I
drive
had
it.
dealer
Let's go.
plates, Your Honor, when we moved the car.
He's lying. He's got a lot of stories.
Mr. Lopez, don't make it worse.
Okay,
So far, you're
apologize.
doing
It's just-
okay.
I came here to tell the truth, and they're that's...
So far, I haven't heard anything about negotiating price.
Okay, when we were looking at it, before we went to the store, me and him talked, he said, Mr. Stanley only wants $200 for the car. I don't know what he's talking about, 5 or 1,000. He said, you give me $250, $50 for me being the finder, $200 for Mr. Stanley, we'll call it a day. I said, that's fine with me, $200 for a winter car, that's good. And then we went back to Mr. Stanley's trailer house. He asked, do you want to buy it? I said, yes, I do. He looked at Mr. Mack and said, can you trust this guy for me to give him the title and the keys, and he's going to pay us? Rob said, yes. You know, I'll give you my word, he's going to pay me. If not, then I'll pay for it. So we go back to the car. We had an extension cord. I tied to the bumper and tied to the bumper of the car he was driving. And to act like we were pulling it, I drove the car. He drove the front one. We took the first right and the cord broke. So I just pulled over and a guy pulled over to help us. Do you need help? I said, no. Before the cops come and I go to jail for driving this car with no registration, no insurance, no plates, no nothing. Let's just drive it. So he's like, oh, okay. He gets in his car. I do like 90 all the way home. That's, you know.
When did you get the title?
I arrived home with Mr. Mack accompanying behind me. We started talking about 3 days before I left for Syracuse State Fair, which is in like the end of the second week or third week of August.
Meanwhile, you haven't been driving the car?
No. It's
Okay.
been parked. Never has been put on the road since then. Never has been driven.
Why?
It didn't have a new muffler system. My brother paid for a new muffler for it. I have pictures of a brand new starter we put in it. After I got it home, the next day I tried to start it. It wouldn't start. The starter died.
Okay. You got the title when?
3 days before I left for Syracuse State Fair.
How?
Mr. Mack brought it to my house. And my
when he
girlfriend,
came-
Tony, was present at the time.
When he brought it to your house, didn't he ask you for any money?
No, he did not. Our agreement was for me to pay him off of the contract that I signed with Syracuse State Fair. When I got back, I was to pay him.
What were you doing at the Syracuse State Fair?
My brother met an individual, a gentleman where he works for, and we do pizzas, like in the little fried dough concession stands and lemonade and pizza.
Okay,
at
so
carnivals.
you were,
We were running one of
you
them.
had a food concession.
Yep.
Okay, so you haven't paid Mr. Mack his $50.
No.
And you haven't paid anything to Mr. Stanley.
No.
Okay, now Mr. Stanley says he's only owed another $100. Is that right?
That's right. From Mr. Mack.
You don't care who you get it from, right?
No, Your Honor. I don't care.
Your Honor, I'd also like to show you the value. I went on the computer, the value of the car that I sold Mr. Lopez.
Let me explain something to you, Mr. Mack. You're not going to get $1,000. Do you understand that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Even if I believe probably bits and snippets of both of these stories, I think that what you did was overreaching. Listen, I don't know if this is an appropriate word for a judge to use, but I'm going to use it. Either you screwed Mr. Stanley or you screwed Mr. Lopez. Because if you're going to show me the value of a car, then you shouldn't have screwed Mr. Stanley because he sold your car for $500, or you screwed Mr. Lopez because you sold it to him less than 24 hours later, if I were to believe you, and doubled your money without paying a penny.
I thought that
So
was...
you screwed either him or you screwed him. So from this court, you're not getting $1,000. Do you understand?
That's perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine. $50 finder's fee, I would say, for not doing any work at all whatsoever, that's pretty reasonable. I think that's, for somebody who's an acquaintance, that's a pretty reasonable thing.
Ma'am, may I say something, please?
Go ahead.
He said acquaintance. I've known this gentleman for over 8 years. He hung at my house. He spent the night. That's
He
more
doesn't
than an
consider,
acquaintance
listen to me.
Right now.
Maybe to you, but if Mr. Mack wants me to believe him,
He's an
you were
acquaintance.
merely an acquaintance
Right.
because when somebody is a friend, you wouldn't screw him like he screwed you.
You're right.
Now, I don't believe you, Mr. Lopez, that you were going to spend $200 for this car. And I'm going to tell you why. I believe $500 is a more appropriate figure. Because why would Mr. Stanley over here say that he was already paid $400? That is what you testified, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're owed another $100.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't care who you get that from.
You're right.
So you say that you owe Mr. Stanley $200.
$200 because that was
Shh. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to be real happy about this. You only have to pay Mr. Stanley $100.
okay.
You have to show me where you paid Mr. Stanley $400. Can you do that?
Other than his word, I have no paperwork because
I don't know whether I don't know if he knows whether today is Tuesday. You know what we're talking about? You know what I'm talking about
wasn't-
with you, sir? I don't know if he knows what today's doing, and I don't know what kind of scam you're pulling, but I'm getting really irritated.
No,
so
there-
you are entitled to a $50 finder's fee, which Mr. Lopez says he agreed to pay you.
I did.
That's all you're entitled to.
Question, Your Honor. If I bought the car from Mr. Stanley for $500,
Show me a purchase bill of sale.
he wouldn't give me one until I paid him until I paid him the $500. Why would he write me a bill of sale if I didn't
He
pay
could
him the
write
money?
you a note saying that you had given him $300 down or $400 down. You still owe him $100. I've sold my car on this 29th day of July 2002 to Mr. Mack for the amount of $500. He's given me $300 down, owes me another $200. Signed, what's your first name?
Robert.
Robert Stanley. That's very simple, right? See, when you try to be a con artist, that's what happens, Mr. Mack. When you try to outsmart people, then sometimes you get outsmarted yourself. You're entitled from Mr. Lopez the amount of $50. That's finder's fee, because I believe that part of Mr. Lopez's testimony that that's what you told him you wanted, $50 for finding this car. Who paid for the bee spray?
I did.
That's all. And if Mr. Stanley wants his $100 back that he says he didn't get, which I'm not so sure about, what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to sue one of you. Bye. From him, you get $50, because that's what you agreed to.
That's fine.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
First, I just want to say hi to a couple people. My girlfriend, Stacia Stanley, my sister, parents.
Our original agreement was 50 finder's fee, 200 for Mr. Stanley.
I bought the car off of Mr. Stanley for $500. I got conned. Only in America.
A con artist tried to come in here and scam somebody and got conned. That's it.
You know, this is America, and I got conned out of my money.
Judge Judy pinned it on the nose. He's a con artist.
A con artist.
He's nothing but a liar, a con artist, and he's trailer trash.
Yeah, we were friends, but, you know, friends backstab.
He made an agreement with me. He stabbed me in my back.
Friends like that, you don't need enemies.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Daniels versus Robinson. Step forward, please.
Registered nurse Cherise Daniels is suing her ex-boyfriend, social worker Andre Robinson, for an unpaid loan. Andre claims she's been repaid.
Ms. Daniels, the defendant is your former boyfriend, and it is your claim that he owes you a balance on a loan that you made to him for his mother's funeral expenses. Yes. Mr. Robinson says that he paid back $1,300 of that loan. You acknowledge that?
Yes.
Owing a balance of $2,700, which he claims was forgiven because he did some favors for you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So now, Ms. Daniels, we're going to get to some preliminary facts. Where did you get the $4,000 from?
Actually, I borrowed about $600 of it from my sister, but the rest of it I had myself. I work. I'm a registered nurse.
Where did you have it?
In my banking account.
Show me the withdrawal.
I don't have the statement from the withdrawal.
Do you have any evidence here of the loan?
No, I don't have any evidence.
So you have no evidence. You're coming to court, and you have to bring more than a smile when you come to court. Mr. Robinson, you claim that you gave her back $1,300. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Show me proof of that.
I have no receipt. I paid her in cash.
You did? Where did you get the cash from?
From, well, pretty much work, from saving and accumulating.
Income tax.
I gave it to her.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Income tax what year?
Actually, it wasn't income tax because my income tax check was taken from me.
So it wasn't an income tax check?
Yeah. So I had to come up with that much amount of money on my own.
So that you saved $1,300?
Yes.
That you gave her in cash?
Yes, because I trust her like that. We've known each other.
You know what my problem is, Mr. Robinson? You know what my problem is, Miss Daniels?
No, Your Honor.
I don't trust either one of you. So when you all get some proof, you come back to see me.
Well, Your Honor, can I say something?
No. Listen to me. Listen to me. When you all get proof, go to your bank.
Your Honor,
listen to me carefully. Until I see a bank withdrawal from your bank for $4,000, don't come back.
Parties are excused. Step out.
22-year-old receptionist Tyada Jordan is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old realtor Freddie Hill, for filing false charges with the police. Freddie is countersuing for damage to a hotel room and defamation of character.
All rise. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Jordan versus Hill. Parties have been sworn in. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Jordan, Mr. Hill is a former boyfriend of yours and the father of your child.
Right.
You want him to pay you damages because you claim that he filed a false application for a protective order against you.
Right.
Because of that, you suffered certain legal costs, you lost time from work, and you suffered as a result of emotional damage.
Right.
Mr. Hill says everything he said in that application for an order of protection or protective order was true, and he is counterclaiming because he says that you damaged some property in a hotel room when you had a hissy fit about something. He had to pay for it. And then he says that you made some false statements about him when you applied to the court for child support, and he wants to be compensated for that. Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So it's clear that you filed a petition for a protective order against the plaintiff. Do you want to tell me when you filed that and why?
I filed the petition December 9th. The reason why was on December 3rd, I came home to my house after work.
Were you living with the plaintiff at the time?
We stayed together, not officially living together. She stayed there maybe like 4 to 5 days out the week.
With your son?
Yes, with my son.
Just the three of you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you came home on December 3rd and?
Prior to that same day when I was at work, we had had a confrontation over the telephone.
About what?
That was the day I told her I was getting ready to go see the people as far as the district attorney child support people.
What do you mean you were going to see the people about
Well,
child support?
prior to that, I had been served with papers to go, a lawsuit she filed against me.
For?
And I had to, for child support.
When did you file a petition for child support against him?
I can't remember the exact day, but it was early 2002.
Why did you do that?
We had separated, and during our relationship, he never really helped me out with anything.
So you went to court at a time when you were not together, or you were together?
We were separated. I went down, picked up a packet, filled it out, turned it in. That basically started the process for
child support. And then you sort of got back together again?
We got back together.
And you didn't go to court to let them know that you were back together?
No, we didn't.
No, you didn't?
I did, no.
Not he.
Your Honor, can I say something? She made a false statement to you about a minute ago, and I just want to verify that. She had stated that I never supported her with my child. I financially supported her. I have proof right here. Each and every month since my child was 6 weeks old, he was in a hospital. I have the backs to every check that I've given to her. I already made false statements.
How old is your son?
My son is exactly 1 year, 2.5 months right now.
Looks like he gives you money pretty regularly. Who's Larry rent? $600.
Oh, that's my landlord.
Well, that's not money for her.
I'm sorry, that was the separate one that came with it.
Don't try to slip anything in on me. I'm too sharp.
Sorry, Your Honor.
There we go. All right, so he gave you money every month, even though he was not under a court obligation to do that.
Right.
Right, okay. So you had an argument with her on December 3rd. What happened when you got home on December 3rd?
When I got home on December 3rd, I opened the door, walked in my house, Your Honor, took 3 steps. I seen my house destroyed, but as far as I had a briefcase with a lot of paperwork in it because I'm a realtor. My briefcase, all the papers taken out, ripped up,
Did you do
all
that?
over the floor.
Lying.
Just a minute. Did you do that?
No.
Sure you did.
No, I didn't.
What, did you
No,
make
I
a mess
didn't.
in the house?
No, I didn't.
You didn't do anything?
I didn't. Your Honor, my mom was there. She was there. She's a witness.
Miss Jordan. Miss Jordan. Your defense is not that you didn't do it, because I read your papers very clearly. Your defense is that you couldn't have broken into your own house because you lived there.
Right.
Your defense is not that you didn't make a mess in the house and throw around his stuff.
Okay.
Okay, what?
He made a lot of false allegations stating that I did this.
Did you call the police?
And then next day around 1 p.m., I called the police because I needed them to escort me into my own house because she had, that day, December 3rd, 7 p.m., she took the spare key of my house. It's on top of my panel on the outside of my door.
Let me see the
and
police
this
report,
is,
please.
Okay.
That's a lie. Sorry. He's lying.
They didn't make a police report because there's no crime on the scene, but that shows I called the police.
No, I just want to see, sir, whether somebody other than you is going to describe the scene to me in the house. And the police, you say, did not.
The police was there. Also, the next day, Your Honor, my landlord went up there with me because I called from his business across the street. Your Honor, I told him about the damage. And then the next day, when he went with me, on top of that, and the police, he seen the damage to the furniture. I got a table leg that was broken. And also, as I walked in the room, dresser drawers was crushed because they was made out of wood, Your Honor.
Okay. When you made an application for a protective order, I'd like to see the application that you made for a protective order against her. Do you have it?
I have it, yes.
I'd like to see it, please. This application for a protective order says that on July 21st, you hit him for the first time.
Lie. It's not true.
No. At the time, she punched me in the face with a closed fist. I called the police. Around August or September, defendant threw a Bible at me and hit me in the face. On December 3rd, we got into an argument over the telephone while I was at work. When I arrived home, later on, the defendant, our son, and the defendant's mother were present in my home. The defendant had stolen my spare key to my house to let herself in. Well, that's not true. Is that right?
That's true, Your Honor.
Well, didn't she have a key to the house, sir? She was living with you, you said 4 to 5 days.
We didn't establish.
Put your hand down, unless you're going to tell me the whole truth, not just half.
I'm going to tell you the whole truth.
Fine, stand up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've been through too much drama with him and his sister over there.
First, I want to know who you are.
I'm Princess. I'm his sister, as she said.
What does that mean, sister like this? What does that mean?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tiana Jordan says the father of her child, Freddie Hill, filed false charges with police. Tiana claims it was an attempt to get out of going to family court.
Your mother?
I'm Tiana's mother. My name is Brenda Jordan.
Shh, just to answer my questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Just to answer my questions.
Okay.
Did your daughter destroy any property in the house?
No, she did not.
Did she throw any of his clothes around the
No,
house?
she did not.
Did she empty out his briefcase?
No, she did not.
She didn't do anything?
She didn't do none of that
I don't
stuff.
believe you. Sit down.
But it's not
How's that?
true.
Don't believe it.
Okay.
Don't believe it.
That's fine.
If you were to tell me certain things that were truthful, and she may have gotten angry, maybe with just cause she got
I don't
angry.
have anything to get angry over.
Oh, no?
No.
You mean he just made this all up and called the police for no reason?
That's a lie. It's all a lie.
Now, just a minute. Why if?
I can tell you why.
Explain to me.
I can explain.
I'm ready
it
to hear you.
Okay. He was upset that I filed for the child support.
No, he knew about that in November.
Right, but this is where we moved together. He didn't explain that. Myself and my son, we moved in November 11th. We all went to Knoxbury Farm for a trip. After that, everything was going okay. We had our, disagreements.
Everything was going okay. It wasn't going okay if you had disagreements.
But every
within the first few
relationship
days.
has disagreements.
Not in the first couple of weeks, madam. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, so he got served at his mom's house with the paperwork for child support. He asked me about it. I said, yeah, you knew about it. Why are you upset? And he said, well, I thought you weren't going to go through with it because you wanted to be with me. And he told me that he would ruin my life because I filed and I will not drop the case. He said, if you do not drop this case, you get out my house, we can't be together. And then that's when I moved out. My mom came, my dad came. They gathered my things together. They helped me move. I gave my mom the key that he had given me and told her keep it so he can pick it up from you so we won't have any contact between this time because I didn't want any drama. I've been through too much drama with him and his sister over there. So we have a child together. Of course, we have to have...
If you were living together, why would you want to go to court and sue him for child support?
This was filed a long time ago.
I understand that, but then he said to you, would you go down to the court with me? And you said...
No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. He said, I want you to drop the case, and there's other ways around this. We can do it and come up with an agreement. I'll pay you this certain amount, and then we can go take it to a judge. And I said, fine. Explain to me, how do we do it? Don't talk about it. Let's step up and do it. He never did it. We never did it. I kept asking him, if you want me to drop the case, tell me what do I have to do, because I didn't know what I had to do. And he saw my things packed. He said, what is this? And I said, I'm leaving. You told me I had to leave if I kept this case open. So I'm packing my stuff and I'm gone.
Your Honor, she mentioned a few false statements. First of all, she said we took a trip November 11th. How did we take a trip November 11th, in which we did, but she moved in at the same time on the same day? We went to Knoxbury Farm.
That night.
She moved in, 10 o'clock at night?
Listen to me. Don't talk to her. Talk to me. Go ahead.
Okay, Your Honor.
What else?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Come on.
But, okay, Your Honor. The plans was from November 11th for us to get together and eventually have plans on moving together by December 1st, okay?
That's not true.
Yeah, just a second.
The reason
Now you're fudging it, sir. Listen
That's
to me.
not true.
Now you're fudging it. Now you're fudging it.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to explain, Your Honor.
You both... First, I want to know who you are.
I'm Princess. I'm his sister, as she said.
What does that mean, sister like this? What does that mean?
Not really.
In other words, I'm not his blood sister. We grew up from children all the way
Then
from...
you're not
I'm
his sister. You're a friend. No, you're not. Are you related to him by blood? Pay attention.
I'm his god sister.
Answer my question. Are you related to him by
no,
blood?
I'm not related by blood,
Good.
but we grew
Are
up
you
with
related?
brother and
I'm
sister.
speaking.
I was answering the question.
No. That requires a yes or a no. Related by blood requires yes or no. Are you related by blood?
No.
Were either of you adopted? Were either of you adopted?
No.
Well, if you're not his adoptive sister and you're not his blood sister, then you're not his sister. Then you're a friend. Okay, I'm not interested in hearing what you have to say. Look, I believe certain things, Miss Jordan. I believe that you probably made a mess in the house. And not only did you make a mess in the house, but I believe that you probably had a tempestuous relationship up until that time.
I didn't make a mess.
I believe you made a mess. I'm denying your application for money based upon his false statements to the police. It's denied. I'm going to get to your application, sir. You say that she made false statements when she went to apply for child support. I'm not interested in the hotel damage, except as it regards her temper. So what I want you to tell me first is, when did you get the papers from child support?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
No. So far, her claim is dismissed, and you're ahead of the game. Now I want to see what you have to show me about your countersuit.
Your Honor, I got to back up just a little bit.
I have extra evidence, too.
Did you hear what I said?
This was the case where I went to go put in for a restraining order against her. It wasn't for child support, Your Honor.
Excuse me.
It was the papers from
Maybe I'm crazy. I am suing Tayada for $500 for defamation of character. I was hurt to find out when I went to court that Tayada lied and said that I was a drunk and never saw my son as a way to put me in a bad light. At the time, Tayada was staying with me almost every night, so I saw my son almost every day.
Yes, this is from the court where I went to go get the restraining order, Your Honor. She stated things here about me.
So it had nothing to do with the child support?
No.
Oh, fine. Let me see.
She called my parents drug addicts, Your Honor, drug history.
Just a second. Listen,
and we
this
have
is
a
what they
licensed
told me.
daycare.
Listen
This is
to
what
me
they
carefully.
told me.
I want you to be quiet.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
She, I am sure, told some of these things to her attorney, sir, who filed this case. Pay careful attention. I am the attorney of record. Respondent requests full and physical custody of the child. Respondent objects to visitation by the petitioner. Okay? So this is his affidavit. Now, there's no question that he got his information from her. There's no question about that. But this is his affidavit. I want you to understand that.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. So you both told things, some of which were untrue or a little bit padded. That be a fair statement?
I don't understand.
Well, did you and your son drive in a car with him?
We have before. Not my son. Not much. I have. Every time that our son was in the car, I drove.
No, that's not what you just said. You just said not much. Are you telling me
he wouldn't let him drive in the car because he had an old raggedy car, and he said he didn't trust it with him. So we didn't really drive him in the car. I drove.
Do you
most of the
understand
time.
that I don't believe you? Well, then,
I'm telling the truth.
you just say most of the time.
I drove most of the time.
And the other time?
Some of the times he drove, but our son was not in the car. I made a mistake. He wasn't in the car, in his car, because he
I don't
didn't
care
trust
whose
it.
car it was. Did he ever drive your car with you and your son in it?
No, he never drove my car with our son in it.
You wouldn't know the truth, madam, if it came up and struck you in the face.
I'm
You
telling
know
the
exactly
truth.
what I'm talking about. If you got into a car with him and you've told your attorney that he drinks and drives at the same time, that's what you told your lawyer.
He does drink and drive, but never with me in the car, or nor our son.
So never. So he never would put you in danger? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
And he never put your son
But
in danger? Is
I'm
that
not
what you're
saying that.
Sure.
I'm saying
but that's what you're
it's never
suggesting
happened.
to the court in your petition for full custody and denying him
No.
visitation. Please. Okay. Now, your case is dismissed. Yours. I'm dealing with your counterclaim. Listen to me carefully,
But I
sir.
have more evidence
I'm
stating-
not interested in anything else. You suffered no injury, and I can't believe or trust anything that you tell me.
But
because
what
I believe, madam, that you messed up his apartment.
I didn't. I promise I didn't mess up his apartment.
Then perhaps I'm mistaken, and I'll have to
My mom
face
was
that.
there.
And I don't
she
believe
came
a
with
word
me.
that your mother says to me if she says that you did nothing in that apartment when you left. I don't believe that. I also, sir, have to deal with your counterclaim. And your counterclaim is also dismissed. And I'm going to tell you why your counterclaim is dismissed. Listen carefully.
I'm listening, Your Honor.
Thank you.
When you deal in a custody case, there is going to be a judge who will ultimately determine which of you gets custody and which of you gets visitation. She made whatever statements she made here to a lawyer in a case that involves custody of your son. The judge will ultimately determine, after a full hearing, whether any or all of those allegations are correct. It is not the subject of another case in small claims court because you don't like what she says about you in the affidavit. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Now, you have anything to tell me about this hotel room incident and when it was?
No, Your Honor.
Perfect. Good. Go back to the family court, and all I can suggest to you is this. You have a 2-year-old son, not quite one. When you're tied together for the next 20 years. And I'm going to suggest that you stop feuding with each other, behave like adults, you go to court, you get yourself declared the father of this child so that there is a legal order of affiliation. Whichever of you is the most qualified, suitable parent will get custody. The other one, hopefully, will have reasonable visitation, and stop torturing each other. You don't have to live together, but you made a baby together. And if you make a baby together, for the sake of that baby, you have to get along. Clear?
We do get along.
Good. Goodbye.
I think it was very unfair.
Well, I think everything went just where it should have went.
It's frustrating that he could continue to lie and lie and lie.
Told the truth.
He just lied about everything.
Tell the truth, you know. That's the way things go.
We have a son together. We have to get along.
Last time I seen my son, a female dropped me off to see my son and came back and picked me up in the car that she used to drive. This is why this lawsuit came 5 months later.
Once you tell a lie, they'll come back on you sooner or later.
Ain't no excuse to make a lawsuit 5 months later. That's exactly why.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's just unprofessional and flat out ghetto.
Electrician Jason Stries is suing his ex-wife, Charla Stries, for child support costs. Jason says he has custody of Charla's daughter from a previous marriage. Charla is countersuing, claiming Jason won't let her see her kids.
Your Honor, this is case number 50 on the calendar in the matter of Stries versus Stries. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Stries, the defendant is your former wife.
Correct.
How long were you married?
All together, about 6 years.
And you have a child together?
Correct.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
And you have custody of that child?
Correct.
And Mrs. Stries has a child from a previous relationship. How old is that child?
9.
And you also have physical custody of that child?
That's true.
And how long have you had physical custody of both children?
Both children, about 2.5 years, maybe a little bit longer.
Is that when the two of you separated 2.5 years ago?
No, we actually separated in August of '99. And then when we separated, a short amount of time went by, and then she left the area with Felicia and Cameo to Arizona. And then I flew down and got the children and her and drove back in her car. And from that point on, I've had the children.
Did she remain with you?
No, she stayed about 2 months, and then she drove back.
Leaving you with both children?
Correct.
And you've had them ever since?
Yes.
Your lawsuit says that your former wife receives child support for the older child from the older child's father.
That's right.
And you have not gotten that money.
No.
And the child's been in your custody. So you are suing her for that money.
Correct.
Not child support that she should pay you for your daughter and her daughter.
No.
She doesn't pay you any child support, I assume.
Well, she's starting to now. There's an order in place.
But prior to that,
Yeah.
she hadn't given you any support for your daughter.
No.
And she hadn't given you the support money that she collects for Cameo.
No.
And that's what your lawsuit is for. Not for the support for your daughter
No.
for the last
That's
2.5
right.
years, but only for the money that she collects from Cameo's father.
That's right.
Mrs. Stries says that you agreed to let her keep that money because she gave up spousal support. That's your defense. Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
How much were you collecting for the 2 years that Cameo was in Mr. Stries' custody?
Well, it's originated as $239 a month, and then, but if he didn't work a whole month, then, you know, I only got a portion of that, so it was generally about $185 a month.
You want to explain to me, Ms. Stries, what your defense is? This about waiving spousal support? Tell me about it.
Okay, well, this all started, I needed to get into acquaintance with my biological father after my mother died. And I tried to get Jason to move to Arizona a few times, and he didn't seem too anxious to do that. And I started going through depression and all kinds of feelings of loss and stuff, and I was not myself at all. And I decided that I needed to go be with my family and get to know my biological father. Well, I moved in with my biological father with my 2 children, and I didn't realize that I was walking into a life of hell. I basically moved into a house that was full of drugs. I didn't know this until after I got to Arizona. You know, I mean, I was unaware of it at all. And I got to Arizona, and the house was just,
Okay,
you know,
so it was a
people
bad
coming,
situation.
Very bad. And I
That was 1999.
Right, I was very stuck.
Let's fast
there.
forward.
I was very stuck because my car broke down and I couldn't work. And so I decided that, you know, I started getting into the drugs, and I decided that
the best things for me to do for my children were to bring them back to their dad.
Good.
Because
So
I
that's
knew
what
he
you
was
did.
a good father.
That's what you did.
Right. But I had to go back down to Arizona to testify to a hearing down there.
About what?
About a drug situation that went on in the house.
Let's get to your defense to this action.
Okay. The reason I haven't
The
sent
reason
him
you
the
kept the
checks,
money
right,
is
because he was telling me to go ahead and keep them because he said that he wanted his wife to be supported by some kind of money.
That's not true. You got to understand, it was a little bit of a precarious situation because I had custody of a daughter that I'm not a biological parent for, and under her situation that she was currently involved with, I was afraid to force the issue because the father might step in, and I had no contact with him. For a long time, he had no idea that I had the kids.
What you're suggesting is that you felt threatened that either the biological father or the defendant would come back to take Cameo if you pressed the issue of the money.
Very much.
Is that right?
I was very, very frightened of that, yes.
Very good. Then what changes that now?
I've spoke with the father, and he knows what's going on.
Then you should have spoken to him before, Mr. Stries. I was very sympathetic for you when I read your papers, and I said he's absolutely entitled to that money. But if what you're telling me is for 2.5 years you decided to forego that, it's not fair now to say, well, I spoke to the father, he's well aware of the situation, he doesn't want custody, and therefore I can go against her for the money. That's really what you're doing.
That is
right?
correct.
Well, you can't do that. That's unfair.
That's unfair?
Yes, it's unfair. If you had put her on notice immediately and said, I want the money that you want, put your hand down. I want the money that you're getting for Cameo, because that's the right thing to do.
I see your point.
You do see my point.
I see your point.
And if you didn't do that because you wanted to keep things quiet and you lulled her into the sense of, well, I'm going to be able to keep this money because he wants to keep things quiet. I mean,
That's not true.
Who are you?
I'm sorry.
Who are you?
My name is Donna.
Who are you to this?
I'm a witness.
Who are you to this case?
I'm a witness to the plaintiff.
Are you his girlfriend?
I guess you can call me that.
I'm not interested in hearing from you. Didn't I make that clear by not acknowledging you?
That's a lie.
Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, I do.
And I want to explain something further to you. These are not your two children.
That's correct.
Don't get involved. Do you understand?
They live with me.
I don't care. Don't get involved.
Fine.
That's a big mistake. It's between these two people, not you. So you get my point?
I get your
You
point.
lulled her into a false sense of security, and I don't care how much she's given you this prodding and say you got to get the money back from her. The smart thing to do is nothing. Now she's sending support. The father is aware of the situation. You want to sue him for support? Fine.
To him?
Yes, of course.
For back support?
No.
Okay.
Prospective.
Okay.
Back support you pay.
All right. That's going on right now.
Fine. Good. Then, as far as the other money is concerned, it's gone. Kiss it to God. It never happened. We understand each other?
Yes.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's not her fault you got involved with the drug
No, it's
culture and
not.
people who commit murder and people who sell drugs and are trying to put your life back in order. An innocent person shouldn't have to suffer because of what a guilty person did.
And later today,
When were you divorced?
It was during summertime.
I know the hour and the second.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Stries claims ex-wife Charla Stries owes for the cost to support her child. Jason says he has custody because Charla has a drug problem.
Now, let's get to your nonsense counterclaim. I'll hear you. 30 seconds.
It is nonsense. I'm just trying to get back on my feet. I've been trying to do that since I came back in August. And I had to go down to Arizona for another situation that I was in. Someone killed someone with a knife of mine, and I had to go testify.
Ms. Stries, are your two daughters in a good situation for them?
Well, yes
The
and
answer
no.
is they are.
The
answer is they are.
Right.
In a good situation for them. Stable? Certainly your younger daughter is going to stay with her father. There isn't any question about that unless some family court judge has not eaten a full breakfast. And you should, as the child's mother, have reasonable contact with this child.
Right.
Cameo's a different story.
Right.
The law is more complicated with regard to Cameo because Cameo is not Mr. Stries' biological child. However, I am sure that a court will look at the facts in this case and could very well determine that there are extenuating circumstances. The fact that you are the child's biological parent is not necessarily dispositive of the issue.
Right.
Which, in all probability, should happen because these two little girls have spent their lives together. And to pull one away would be really cruel. And you don't want to be a cruel
That's
parent.
why I don't have her now. because
Right.
when I came back, I could have taken her because there was no law and order set in that he got custody of her.
Does he now have a legal order of temporary custody?
He does at the moment, yes.
Good.
But that was because I did not want to pull her away from her sisters or her dad.
Well, what I'm telling you is, you think long and hard. You know, an innocent person shouldn't have to suffer because of what a guilty person did. And your daughter Cameo has been with her sister her whole life.
Right.
This is the only family she knows.
Right.
It's not her fault you got involved with the drug
No, it's
culture and
not.
people who commit murder and people who sell drugs and are trying to put your life back in order. May take you another year or so to do that, and that would be half of her life that she spent.
Right.
So
I'm sorry.
you have to think of what the child's best interests involve. The child's best interest probably involves spending at least her minority with Mr. Stries, with seeing you regularly if you get your life together.
Right.
That's why you're supposed to
I
do
have-
nothing to interfere with that.
I have
right?
a lot of evidence that I've
I'm
been
not
getting my
interested
life in
I'm
order.
not interested in evidence. As long as you started out by saying to me, Mrs. Stries, that your counterclaim for emotional distress was nonsense, I'm willing to accept that because I don't have to deal with nonsense. Mr. Stries, it looks to me as if you've done the right thing, like you've acted responsibly, like you're doing a good job with these two girls, like everything is calm. That's the way you got to keep them, right?
That's right.
You're getting support now from her, just started.
Just started,
You're going to
yep.
get support from Cameo's father,
Correct.
as long as he's still in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
What?
He's making my recovery impossible. He's never letting me see my kids when he's supposed to. He's
Just a
changing the
second.
days.
You have a court order for visitation?
Not with my oldest daughter because it's just a temporary thing. And I was supposed to be visiting her on Wednesdays and Saturdays until I got through my treatment. I'm through with my treatment now.
Do you now have an order of visitation for both of your girls?
No. Well, see, one thing that happened is the divorce finalization went on, and I never even knew it was happening.
What you have to do, Mrs. Stries, is seek a court order of visitation.
Okay.
Let me tell you what's going to happen when you seek a court order of visitation with both girls. They will assign a law guardian, a good judge will assign a law guardian to represent the interests of both children. And it may be that especially your older daughter, maybe your younger one too, going to involve a period of time of adjustment, seeing you with a therapist, seeing you under controlled circumstances, getting to know that they can rely on every Wednesday or every Saturday seeing their mother. If their father is a smart man, and I think he is, he has to understand that growing up without any contact with their mother is a very bad thing for them long term. Now, you may get some flack from that from your girlfriend, but I'm telling you that's being short-sighted if that happens, because long-term children should not feel deserted by a parent. They can understand as they get older that their mother may have had a drug problem, and that she's cleaned it up, and that she did the best that she could for them by letting them stay with you, but she still loves them and she's still in their life. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That may be taking a hard swallow on your part. You understand?
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay, good. I somehow thought you would. You need a set order, not something that you work out together. You need an order of the court that says, this is when you go, this is when you pick them up, this is when you drop them off, this is when you see them, this is a therapist that you're going to see them with, so that you have some understanding. He should not interfere with your recovery, but you have to be proactive. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. That's all. Thank you.
Always not excused. You may step out.
She is in the children's life right now.
I would like my children back with me,
I understand she has problems,
that my kids get what they need,
and I have hopes that she'll work those out,
and they get to be with both of their parents
and that eventually everything will go a lot more peacefully.
without all this riffraff in the middle.
She's claiming that I'm making things hard for her.
I mean, he used to be my best friend, you know?
I really do believe that she's made it hard on herself.
He claimed it, and now he seems like my enemy almost.
My hope that things will continue to improve.
I want to be in my children's life, you know?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Berardi versus Berardi. Step forward, please.
Fleet manager John Berardi is suing his ex-wife, homemaker Lisa Berardi, for an unpaid loan for their son's legal fees. Lisa claims the money was John's idea.
Mr. Berardi, the defendant is your former wife. According to your complaint, you say that she owes you $950 for legal fees that were incurred by your 14-year-old son. 14-year-old son evidently got a hold of a BB gun, and he shot the BB gun while he was in his mother's custody. Was anybody injured?
No.
Some property damage?
A hole in the window.
Okay. He was arrested, and you claim that his mother borrowed the money from you to pay for a lawyer. You want the money back? Okay. When were you divorced?
When were we divorced? I don't remember the date.
I asked the question.
I don't
You
remember the date.
She'll remember. When were you divorced?
89.
What month?
It was during the summertime, about June, July.
I know the hour and the second. In any event, sometime during the summer of 1989. So your son was very young at the time because he's 14 years now. Do you share custody of him?
Yes.
Do either of you pay support?
No.
You each take care of him when you have him?
Yes, ma'am.
So to say, yes.
What do you mean that's so to say? I don't understand that.
Well, he resides with me.
And he was visiting with you? Where did you get the BB gun from?
A friend of mine. We borrowed the BB guns so we can take them up to Pennsylvania by my brother's house.
Okay. Tell me about the loan, sir.
After I got the letters from the court stating that he had to be defended by an attorney, I called around, and the cheapest attorney I could find was $1,000. Since I was not receiving any child support, it was very difficult for me to have to spend that kind of money. I called his mother, and I told her the only way I could do it is if I took the money from a credit card. She told me that she would pay me the full amount for the attorney. She would give me $50 to $100 a month when she could, and every time I asked, she never seemed to have the money for it. Finally, she told me that she would give it to me from her tax return this year, and when that came in, she had to use it for something else. So, again, I didn't receive any money. I just felt like I was being taken advantage of, so I had to file the claim.
Go ahead.
I don't feel that I owe him.
No, the question is, did he call you and tell you about the attorney?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Well, tell me about your version of your recollection of that conversation.
When he called, he told me that he needed an attorney for my son and that the cheapest was $1,000. I did not have $1,000 or $500 to give him. And I said, let me find out and see if I can do it through legal aid. But because my son resides with his father was held responsible for that. So I said, okay, at least I tried. He asked me, if I, for me to pay him. And at the time, I wound up getting laid off at my job. I was on unemployment. I was backed up with bills. I could not afford to pay it. I did say to him that when I would get my unemployment, I would, give him some money. When my unemployment came in, it wasn't what I was expecting. So I could not afford, because I've been backed up. I'm backed up with bills. Now I'm on disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
I fell and I broke my tailbone and I have 4 herniated and ruptured discs.
You owe him the money, and you're going to pay him the money, and I'm going to tell you why. You're getting a free ride. You haven't paid him child support.
He waived that. I support my child when he's by me.
No. He may not pursue you for child support, but that doesn't mean that you're not getting a freebie, madam. Just because you're the mother and he's the father and he happens to have custody of the child, the law is gender blind. We don't see mother, father, we just see 2 parents. And each parent is responsible for the child's support. And you've been getting away with it for a long time. So I believe that you said to him, when I get my money, I'll help you out as best I can, and he relied on that. And how much was the lawyer, $950?
The lawyer was $1,000.
Well, you're suing for $950 because she gave you $50.
She gave me $50.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. Consider yourself lucky. Goodbye. Thank you.
I just excuse you. May step out.
I couldn't afford it.
I just want to put the matter behind us and move forward.
I just told him whenever I had the money.
We have to parent our child together.
If I can afford to give it to him, I would.
We have to do that respectfully.
23-year-old realtor Claudia Anguiano is suing 29-year-old massage therapist Delilah Glover for damages resulting from a road rage incident. Delilah is countersuing for the same.
Yeah. Yeah, this is case number 100 on the calendar in the matter of Anguiano versus Glover. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
You 2 ladies were involved in what I would term a road rage incident. Unusual for 2 women, but nonetheless, each of you claimed that the other was at fault. Each of you had damage to your vehicles. You're suing for a whole bunch of stuff, but that's primarily what it is. You had damage to your cars. So why don't you begin by telling me your version of these events, madam?
Well, I was driving on a 4-lane divided highway, and my intent was to get into the left lane. Now,
why did you want to get into the left lane?
Because I was going home, and I was a quarter of a mile to the intersection where I was heading home to.
So you had to get into the left lane?
Yes, and I put my turn signal ahead of time, which there was a bus in front of me, and it went ahead of me, and then I looked over towards this woman, and I thought, she might be seeing what I was trying to do. And I remember exactly, I went into her lane, and apparently she was having a bad day or something, because she just went into oncoming traffic, trying to still beat me and to get in front of me while I was already in her lane. Okay, now she went in back of my vehicle again, and then she started crashing into the back of my vehicle purposely. And she was yelling profanity at this time. And I could read her lips. I couldn't hear it because she was in back of me, of course. But that's just how upset she was, and I could see her face as she was doing that. And she kept crashing into the back of me multiple times.
So that's the damage to your car?
That's the damage.
Right.
I was in the
All right, Miss Glover. Now your version of the events.
Your Honor,
The plaintiff was trying to avoid stopping behind a Metro bus.
Explain that to me.
Basically, what she was trying to do was to get over into my lane. She did not use her
Because
turn
there was a
signal.
bus stopped in her lane?
Yes, there was a bus that was getting ready to stop. She forced her way into my lane and did not use a turn signal. I have the police report here.
But don't show it to me yet.
Okay. She forced me into the oncoming traffic. I tried to maneuver my way back into my lane. This time, the plaintiff was in front of me. She deliberately slammed on her brakes. I tapped her bumper, and I even have pictures here that shows that there was no damages to my car that proves that I slammed into her truck.
Okay, how was your car damaged?
My damages are on the side of the car.
How did you get damages to the side of your car?
From maneuvering my car back into my lane before the oncoming traffic was coming.
Can I see the police reports, please?
Yes.
Did you tell the police you slowed down to turn into U-Haul?
No, that's incorrect. And the police, by the way, were very negligent about the whole situation up there.
I just asked you a question.
Okay, yeah.
So you mean that the police lied in this report when they
Yes,
say...
they did know.
Why don't you wait until I'm finished?
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
She stated she slowed down to turn into the U-Haul, and vehicle 2 hit her several times. What you're telling me is the police officers made that up?
As a matter of fact, I did go ahead and file a complaint against the police station.
I'm asking you a question. Answer my question.
Okay.
The question was they made that all up.
They were not listening exactly to the situation that had just happened. I was at the U-Haul parking lot, right in the corner of the street where I was supposed to make a left.
What were you doing in the U-Haul parking lot?
A sheriff pulled us up in there, in which I have a witness that's seen everything that was in back of
Oh, good. Bring in your witness.
She got name?
Sandra, I believe. I don't know her that much. I just know she was driving in back of this woman's vehicle. The sheriff pulled over and asked her what had just happened. It's a surprise witness, too.
Is this the only police report that there is?
Yes, there is. That's it.
Tell me your name, madam.
Sandra Rizzo.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Oh, do you know the plaintiff?
No, I don't.
Prior to this incident, you had never seen her
No.
before. Tell me what you know about this incident that happened on the 14th of April.
Basically, I was sitting behind Miss Glover in traffic. I saw Claudia to my left.
Who's Claudia?
Claudia, the plaintiff. She was in the right-hand lane with her turn signal on to get in the left-hand lane. They were about equal, side by side.
Right.
The bus that was in front of Claudia moved forward, that's when Claudia turned to the left-hand lane.
So she was trying to get out of her lane to avoid getting stuck behind the bus that was going to stop.
Well, I took it she was going to make a left-hand turn at the light.
You did? What made you think that?
Because there was an arrow to turn left.
And how far away was the light?
From the back of the courtroom to the front, 30, 40 feet.
Not a quarter of a mile, right?
Right.
So you thought she was going to make a left turn about 30 feet away.
The light had turned,
I'm
yes.
asking you a question.
I took it, yes, that she was going to make...
Well, you were incorrect because according to Claudia, she was going to make a turn for about a quarter of a mile. Unless she was making a left-hand turn into the U-Haul place. That's what the police said that she told them, only she says that the police were lying when they said that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I asked you why you didn't report this incident to your insurance company.
Because I feel that if I wouldn't have gotten into this accident with her, I would not have damages to my car.
Did you both go to the same school at Double Talk?
And later today,
How many of you put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can head first, sir?
There were 3 students involved in the situation.
Just a minute. In the garbage can. Not in the situation. This isn't a situation, Mr. Evans.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Claudia Anguiano claims fellow motorist Dalila Glover rammed her car in a fit of rage. Dalila says she was forced into oncoming traffic when Claudia made an illegal lane change.
So why don't we just continue on with this?
Claudia got in front of Miss Glover.
Did Miss Glover have plenty of room when Claudia got in front of her?
I took it there was because she was able to get into the left-hand lane.
At the same time that Claudia moved into the left-hand lane, did Miss Glover move into the other lane of traffic that was coming in the other direction?
No, I did not see oncoming traffic, and I did not see
I didn't
her.
ask you whether you saw oncoming traffic, madam. I said at the same time that Claudia moved into Miss Glover's lane, did Miss Glover move into the lane where there would be oncoming traffic?
No.
When did she do that?
I did not observe her doing that.
Well, that happened according to Claudia and according to Miss Glover. You didn't notice that?
No, I didn't.
That's sort of interesting, wouldn't you say? What's the next thing that you saw?
I saw Miss Glover ramming her car into Claudia's vehicle.
Just from nowhere?
The windows were down that day. I did observe them. They were exchanging words.
Now, at some point, both cars stopped.
Right.
What did you do?
I basically put my car in park because I knew at that point I wasn't going anywhere.
And then what did you do?
The sheriff signaled for me to pull into the U-Haul parking lot.
And did you speak to the officer?
Yes, the officer came and asked me my name and my address and what I saw.
Really? That's so strange. It's nowhere in the police report.
Negligence.
They've got a lot of other things in the police report, but not that. That's so peculiar. Okay. Did you have any conversation with either of these two ladies?
Just Claudia.
Tell me what the conversation was with Claudia.
She asked me if I had seen what had happened. I stated yes, I did. I basically gave her my name and my phone number. That was the end of the conversation.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving, Claudia?
A 96 Chevy Tahoe truck.
You have insurance?
Yes, I did, but I didn't bring any of that with me at this time. But
And what kind of car were you driving?
A 98 Ford Taurus.
And you have insurance?
Yes.
Did you report this incident to your insurance companies?
I didn't, because I felt as if this woman over here, which Tim Sack really civilized, that she's not that day. She was being very crazy. And
I'm asking you.
Okay, and I did
Claudia.
report it. I didn't report it because, sorry, I wanted her to, go ahead and respond for what she had done and her insurance paid for it. There wasn't that much damage. There was probably like 1 or 2 dents on my bumper. I could have...
Claudia, pay attention to me, my dear.
Okay.
I asked you why you did not report this matter to your insurance company. Now you want to tell me that it was just 1 or 2 little dents in your bumper, which is why you didn't report it to your insurance company. Is that what you're telling me?
If I would have taken it to the small claims court and this woman would have hit me for what she did to my vehicle, then I could fix it that way. If I would have hit her, I would have responded with my insurance. But I don't necessarily have to drive that vehicle if I don't want to, and if she fixes it, maybe that'll be good.
She giving me double talk or what? I mean, does she think that people get over on this kind of double talk? Huh?
I don't know.
And you didn't report it to your insurance company, why?
Yes, ma'am, I did report it to my
Can I
insurance
see?
company.
She didn't have insurance at the time. I had the lawyer contact, and
But I feel that
quiet, Claudia.
Okay.
Well, all you're showing me is what?
I'm showing you that I was insured on that day.
I see you were insured. I asked you why you didn't report this incident to your insurance company.
Because I feel that if I didn't have, if I wouldn't have gotten into this accident with her, I would not have damages to my car. So I feel that she should have to be responsible for it.
Did you both go to the same school of double talk? That's double talk. You have an accident, you report it to your insurance company. You're each claiming thousands of dollars of damage to your cars. You report it to your insurance companies. And you have insurance.
Yes.
And you have insurance, right? Report it to your insurance company, ladies. I don't buy this story. Let me tell you why I don't buy this story, Claudia. Because A, you can't look me straight in the eye. That's number one. Number two, she didn't see her going in to oncoming traffic, which both of you acknowledge happened. What probably happened was you wanted to get away from behind a bus and weren't looking where you were going, or scooched in front of her, causing her to have to move into the other lane. Fortunately, she didn't get hurt. And she moved back in, and she was furious with you, and she hit the back of your car. All of this happens because, in all probability, you weren't looking where you were going, Claudia. The insurance company could ferret this out. That's what you girls have insurance for. Use it. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just feel that this woman is very good at acting because she's just totally lying about the whole situation. And how would I come to see a big old bus and then just decided to cut him off or something? I mean, that'd be very stupid, you know?
If I had repeatedly slammed into the back of her truck, like she says, there would be a lot more damages to my car. So she's full of it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Perkins versus Evans. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Jeremiah Perkins and his father Anthony are suing Jeremiah's schoolmate, 18-year-old Damian Evans, for breaking his tooth. Jeremiah says Damian stuffed him into a trash can.
Mr. Evans, how old are you, sir?
I am 18 years old.
And what do you do with your life?
I'm still in high school right now.
And you know Mr. Perkins, young Mr. Perkins over
Yes,
here,
I
don't
do.
you?
Yes.
Where do you know him from?
I know him from school and from track.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 16 years old.
And this is your father.
Correct.
And your father is really suing on your behalf because, according to what I read, you were sort of horsing around. And you, Mr. Evans, as part of the horsing around process, put Mr. Perkins in a garbage can head first.
I did not actually put him in myself. There was a couple students involved in the situation.
Well, how many of you put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can head first, sir?
There were 3 students involved in the situation.
Just a minute. There were 3 students,
3 students
who put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can. Not in the situation. This isn't a situation, Mr. Evans.
All right.
How many students put Mr. Perkins in the garbage can?
There was 1 student that put Mr. Perkins in a garbage can.
And who was that student?
That student was Austin.
Mr. Evans, I'm going to ask you that question again, sir.
Okay.
Because I don't want to make mincemeat out of you. How many students put Mr. Perkins in a garbage can?
1 student.
And you're saying that was not you,
Yes,
somebody
I'm saying
else.
that was not me.
I would like you to show Mr. Evans this document and ask him if he signed it, please. Just have him look at the signature. Is that your signature, sir?
Yes, that is my signature.
And I assume that having achieved the age of 18 years, that you know how to read?
Yes.
So do I. And this says, I knew it was a joke, so I joked back. And that's when Austin and I put him in a trash can. That's what you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
So which is true, sir?
The statement that you have is true.
So what you just told me before was not true?
No.
Oh, that was painful. Okay. So, you and somebody else put him in a trash can because you were joking around.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
You got hurt.
Yes.
How did you get hurt, sir?
When I was in the garbage can, everybody was laughing. I was trying to get out.
Everybody was laughing.
Yes.
Because they didn't mean to hurt you. Is that right?
I didn't take it as that way.
You didn't mean to hurt him when you were acting like a fool, did you?
No, I did not.
So tell me what happened, Mr. Perkins. You heard them laughing and you were trying to get out. Your father is really enjoying this. Are you enjoying this?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Okay, I was trying to lift myself out, and the garbage can, since it was plastic, it was on concrete, and it slipped up under me, causing my tooth to hit the garbage can, which hit the concrete, and it broke, and it busted my nose.
Busted your nose and your tooth.
Yeah.
Now you can step up here for a minute, Mr. Perkins. It's cost you how much to fix your son's tooth so far?
Well, we have insurance, but the out-of-pocket cost is around $400 plus a lot of hassle.
Like what?
Well, the insurance that I had wasn't accepted everywhere, so I had to do a lot of traveling. Went to about 9 dentists to get a root canal, first of all, which required a couple of visits, a couple of x-rays, and then finally a temporary. We still haven't got, he's just a temporary on there now until we can pay for to get a permanent.
Tooth broken in half?
Yes. 70% loss.
70% loss. Oh, well, that'll cost you a pretty piece of change, but that's cosmetic, so you got a problem. But you don't have the problem. You know who has the problem? Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Evans has the problem, unless Mr. Evans can explain to me why he shouldn't have the problem. So, Mr. Evans, now that you understand that I am a truth machine, sir.
Yes.
Now you're going to convince me why you are not responsible for Mr. Perkins' dental bill.
1, because he started the whole incident with physical contact.
Tell me what happened, sir.
Me and my witness here, we were in the locker room talking, and Jeremiah came in from outside, and he said something to me. I'm not exactly sure what he said, and I said something back, which initiated him to come over to me and smack me in my face. So
How did he smack you in your face? Show me how.
It was like that.
Is that what they call mushing? What's a mush?
Mush is...
Yeah.
Like a mush?
Yeah.
Did you think that I knew that word?
Honestly, I didn't know you knew that word. It surprised me.
My grandchildren will be proud of me. After he mushed you, you and your friend picked him up and did what?
Austin grabbed him around his chest. So another student brought a trash can over, and Austin picked him up, and I picked him up by his feet, because my intentions were to take his shoes off and put him into the trash can. After that, Austin took him and turned him upside down, at which time my hands were not on his feet anymore, and he got put in the trash can.
So part of your defense is that even if you are responsible for his tooth, Austin should be partially responsible.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Maybe. You sue him because you're responsible. And I'm not making Mr. Perkins run around anymore to go find everybody else who's responsible. He's run around enough. 9 dentists is enough. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you. Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry that he had to get injured. I didn't never mean for him to get injured.
He seems sorry, but you really can't tell.
It was just joking around. Somebody got hurt. That's what happened when you joke around.
Now I can get my tooth fixed. I can look normal.
Administrative assistant Madeline Nieves is suing her former friend, waiter Stephen Joyle, for an unpaid loan for rent. Stephen is countersuing, claiming Madeline threw his car keys into a cow pasture.
Come to order. All rise. Now, this is case number 235 on the calendar in the matter of Nieves versus Joyle. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Nieves, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $160 for rent.
That's correct.
He called you, he needed some money for rent. He was a friend of yours, off and on boyfriend, so you loaned him the money. That was in what month?
July.
And he hasn't paid you back.
Sure. I never called her.
The defendant says that, yes, you did, in fact, give him $160 for rent. That $160 was a gift, and he never agreed to pay you back. You gave it to him because you were a nice person, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he has a counterclaim. Mr. Joyle says that you threw his keys in a field.
Cow field.
What?
A cow field.
In a cow field. As a result of which, he couldn't find his car keys, he couldn't get to work, he was docked pay, and ultimately lost his job. So he is counterclaiming for $400. So I'm going to deal with his counterclaim first. Okay. When was this incident with the car keys?
Like May 30th or something like that. I got
May 30th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Before the rent?
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't have money for the rent, because she tried to claim my keys into a cow field. If I didn't lose my job, I don't know where that came from, but I got written up. I have the slip where I got written up, and I couldn't work for a week. I lost 40 hours.
Why couldn't you work?
I got suspended.
Okay, May the 30th. Tell me what happened on that day, Mr. Joyle.
Well, we were out.
Paper, John. It's making me nervous.
We were at this bar, and she had happened to walk in, and I was with this other girl. She gave me kind of like the evil eye, you know what I mean, from across the room. So the next morning, she comes to my house, and she starts yapping about how I got to show her some respect and this and that. But she's not my girlfriend, you know. We just, every now and then, we'll hang around. And my keys were on the patio table. I'm like, I don't want to hear this. I'm taking off. She goes, you ain't going nowhere. And that's when I chucked my keys right into the damn cow field. And I couldn't get into work because I had no keys. And there's bulls in that field.
How far from your house did you work?
I don't know.
10 minutes.
About 10 minutes, half an hour by bus. But the way this bus schedule goes, I had to be in work at 5, and I wouldn't get there until like 5:15, 5:30.
You had to take an earlier bus.
Well, if she wouldn't have threw my keys inside the cow field, I wouldn't have to take a bus, right?
But you'd have to take an earlier bus if you
wanted to.
to
Well, I did. Well, I took the bus.
Good. Oh, good. Now, after May 30th with the cow field and the key, by the way, did you finally find your keys?
Yeah, it took me about 6 days.
Okay, but you finally found them.
Yes, ma'am.
But you had plenty of time because you weren't going to work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you see Miss Nieves between May 30th and the date in July when she gave you this money?
Yeah, I've seen her around.
Did you have dinner with her?
Nah.
Were you ever alone with her?
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
What does that mean?
Well, you know, it's like casual kind of thing. Sometimes we hang out, sometimes we don't, but I'm almost positive we hung out.
I mean alone?
Yeah.
Not at the bar?
Yeah, alone.
Now, when you hung out alone with her, where did you hang out?
At the bar and then probably back at her house.
Did you ever hang out with her at your house alone?
Yeah.
Between May 30th and July when she gave you the money?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, tell me about the conversation that you had with Miss Nieves about your need for money for rent. Where were you when you had this discussion about July's rent?
We were at, actually, we were at one of my friend's house after the bar. We didn't discuss my rent. I'm just like, oh, you know, I got to go home. I got to deal with this. I don't have my money for the rent. She's like, I'm financially secure this month or something like that. She goes, I'd like to help you out. I'm like, cool. That was it. And the only time she bring up that I owed her money is because when I was with, she seen me with this other girl. I started seeing this other girl, and that's when all this came about.
Yes, go ahead.
That story has more BS than the cow fields he's referring to. First of all, I don't know anything about keys. As a matter of fact, I remember...
I'm not interested in the keys.
Okay,
His
well...
countersuit is... Okay. Pay careful attention to me. His counterclaim is nonsense. Because if he was truly concerned, angry, felt as if you had done something that caused him to be suspended, then he wouldn't have seen you between May 30th and July. And he would have sued you, which he didn't. And he wouldn't have taken money from you, whether a gift or a loan. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim.
So why wouldn't I take the money from
Listen
her?
to me. I'm dismissing your counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's get to your version of how it came about that you parted with $160.
I left work one afternoon, I checked my cell phone, and I got 2 messages from the defendant. When I got home, I realized that he left another 2 messages. When I returned his call, he asked for a favor. When I asked what it was, he said that he needed to borrow some money to pay his rent.
I never said that. That's a lie.
And of course, I was hesitant to do so, but he continued to say that his brother was going to give him the money that Friday. And I told him that I would loan him the money only under the condition that his brother was paying him and he would pay me with that money.
Okay. What date did you actually hand him the money?
July 21st. I have a photocopy of the ATM receipt.
And when did you ask him for the money back?
That Friday, July 21st.
Well, he said he was going to get money, according to you, on Friday.
Well, yes, he was going to get money from his brother, which in turn he was going to give to me. So,
not the truth. I never mentioned my... She's lying.
So Friday came and went. He never called me. That Saturday, I went down to the restaurant where he works. I told him I was very disappointed that I didn't hear from him. He said that he had to pull some double shift or something and he didn't have time, that he was planning to call me. I asked when I was going to get paid. He asked me to return to the restaurant that evening at closing time, and he could only pay me $50 at that time. And I was a little upset because that wasn't our agreement. I left. I came back at closing time. I asked a coworker to let him know that I was there, and I found out that he already left the premises. So I let things go, you know, let things cool down. I waited a couple of weeks or so. Well, one Thursday, which was, I believe, was August 7th, I was with a girlfriend. We went to the restaurant, and I asked him at that point, you know, when he was planning to pay me back. He was avoiding me by, you know, busting the tables and just walking away from me, and I was getting really frustrated at that point.
I don't mean avoiding you.
Mr. Joyelle, one person talks at a time.
Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, he avoided me, and I said, I want to know when I'm going to get paid. He says, well, why don't you stop by my house that Sunday? And I said, what's going to happen on Sunday? And he became really irritated, and he said, just stop by my house. I said, I want to know what's going to happen on Sunday. And he said, just leave me alone, or I'll have you thrown out of the restaurant. And that's pretty much all of it in a nutshell.
First of all, she's lying, okay? Because this is the guy she said, the co-worker that she was talking about.
No, that wasn't him.
That's him. What the
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know her. If there was the money, I'd assume that she'd probably be like, you know when he's going to give me this money or something.
Sit down.
And later today,
Somebody told her that there was a dent in her car, and she didn't go downstairs to look at it.
No.
Is everything that you've told me as truthful as the fact that you don't drive this uninsured car?
Yes, Your Honor.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Madeline Nieves says former friend Stephen Joyle owes for an unpaid loan for rent. Stephen says Madeline flipped out when she saw him with another woman.
What is she lying about, sir?
There was never nothing about paying back. She knew that I was low on rent, and she said she'd like to help me out. So I was like, okay. And she had took me on trips before, take me out, got me loaded, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So she took me to Martha's Vineyard. She took me to
Martha's Vineyard.
Miss Nieves, don't interrupt him.
Right.
The only reason why she's saying that I owe her money is because she's all upset because I'm with this other chick, and that's it.
How old are you?
She never said nothing about money or anything
How old
like
are
that.
you?
Huh?
This is not a hard question. They get harder.
How old am I? 29.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waiter and busser and bar back at a house.
That is a 3-meal-a-day restaurant?
Restaurant, bar, comedy show. Maybe stop by sometime. I know you live in Connecticut.
What?
Nothing. I said maybe you might want to stop by. I'll hook you up. Free comedy show.
What an idiot. Miss Nieves, how old are you?
I'm 35. Can you please ask his witness about the evening that I went to the restaurant to ask for the money the first time, the same evening that he asked me to return, and he wasn't there? The witness there, Josh, was at the restaurant, and I asked if he's seen him, and he said no.
What day was that? Was that
That
Friday?
was July 26th.
Josh, up here, up here. What do you do at the restaurant?
I am a server at the restaurant.
You don't want to offer me a free night out, do you?
No.
Josh, that's a very wise idea.
Thank you.
But I want you to listen to me very carefully because my question's really not hard. Do you recall Miss Nieves coming into the restaurant to inquire about the whereabouts of Mr. Joyelle and her money?
She never mentioned money at all.
What did she say?
She came in, she was like, is Steve here? Steve had gotten off probably like a half hour before she had arrived at the restaurant.
Okay.
She never said anything about money.
To you? She didn't say anything to you about money?
But I've known her for about 6 months, so she's an acquaintance through mine through Steve. I've been over to her house as well with Steve. I know her. So if there was the money, I'd assume that she'd probably be like, do you know when he's going to give me this money or something to the sort.
Was I angry?
Sit down.
I just got booted.
Mr. Joyelle, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Excuse me?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know.
Have you thought about it?
No.
Your life is half over.
Hey, take it easy.
No, life's half over. You got to think about what you want to be. One thing you don't want to be is you don't want to be a bum.
Yeah, that's true.
Too late, Your Honor.
Mr. Yves, you're going to talk yourself into a dismissal. Do you understand?
I understand.
Fresh mouths don't go here. I don't care what side of the bench
I
you're on.
apologize.
Well, we were allowed to have a fresh mouth. Men who are bums take money from women who like them and who they have no feelings for because they're users. That makes a man a bum. Do you understand?
Sure.
You don't want to be a bum, do you?
I'm not a bum.
You don't want to be a bum, do you?
Nope.
Good. Then you're going to give Miss Nieves back $160, and you will walk away from this relationship with your head held high and say, she helped me out, but I'm going to do the right thing, and the right thing is to pay her back. That way she doesn't have any hard feelings, and I'm going to be a man instead of a bum. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $150. That's all. And you two can leave, Josh.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I guess the judge didn't believe what I was saying. I think maybe asking her to go to the comedy show was kind of a wrong move.
I guess the judge can identify a liar when she hears one.
Never try to be funny in front of Judge Judy. That don't work.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Scarfudo versus Mahoney. Step forward.
20-year-old student Courtney Scarfudo is suing her boyfriend's roommate, 20-year-old florist Lacey Mahoney, for backing into her car.
Miss Scarfudo, is your boyfriend here? Where is he?
He's right here.
Was this your roommate?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still your roommate?
Yes.
Okay, according to your complaint, you were over at your boyfriend's home, and you claimed that the defendant hit your car as she was pulling out of the driveway. Your insurance paid for the damage to your car, but you suffered out-of-pocket expenses, $500 deductible. You had to rent a car for a couple of days while they fixed it, and you also want her to be responsible for the increased insurance premiums that you're going to have to pay. Forget that part of it. Miss Mahoney says she never hit your car. When was your car damaged?
June 10th, 2003.
And what makes you think Miss Mahoney did it?
She came upstairs, asked me to move my car. I asked Christian to move my car for me. He went downstairs.
With her?
Correct. At that time, she told him that she had hit my car.
Oh, you weren't there?
No.
Step up. Last name?
Whiteley.
Okay, let's go to June 10th. Miss Mahoney comes upstairs where you are, and she said what to you?
She pointed out the damage. She said that she had hit the car and that she was unsure whether or not that she should stay there and admit to the mistake or whether she should go ahead and pull around the car and just simply leave.
And what did you tell her?
I told her that it would be best for her to go back upstairs and to notify my girlfriend, Your Honor.
And she said?
After hesitation, she agreed and we went back upstairs.
And what happened when you got upstairs?
Me and Lacey basically reported that the car had got hit by her, even though it was parked. We all agreed that we would go ahead and handle the situation by tomorrow because we're good friends, Your Honor.
And can I speak? And because she did not carry car insurance. And so since she did not carry car insurance, that
How do you not have insurance? How do you drive without insurance?
Your Honor, I wasn't driving. I was actually moving my car backwards so that we could open up the garage door. But it was on my property in my driveway. I was just moving it.
Driving. Why doesn't your car have insurance?
Because I couldn't afford insurance at the time.
So you're not driving at all? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I'm not driving at all.
Is that true?
No.
Of course not. They seem to say that you admitted hitting her car.
Your Honor, I never admitted to hitting her car. I went downstairs for Christian to move the car. We both went downstairs. And he noticed the dent and asked if I had done it, and I said no. We went back upstairs, and he told her that there was a dent in her car, and nothing was said for the rest of the night.
That doesn't sound right to me. Somebody told her that there was a dent in her car, and she didn't go downstairs to look at it?
No.
Nobody said anything? Well, who did it? Is everything that you've told me, Miss Mahoney, as truthful as the fact that you don't drive this uninsured car?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't drive my car because it's uninsured and because it's unregistered.
No, you shouldn't drive your car because it's uninsured and not registered. That doesn't mean you don't drive it. Okay. You had a $500 deductible?
Yes. Would you like to see the receipt?
You have any other witnesses that you want
yes,
to hear?
Yes, I do. I have Mr. Nicholas Scandalius. He actually heard her say, he was in the room with both Christian and I.
Oh, step up.
And she actually came up and said, I hit your car. Okay.
Are you another roommate?
No, I'm a very close friend of Mr. Whiteley's. I'm his best friend. I happened to be there at the night that the incident occurred.
Tell me what you remember.
All three of us were hanging out upstairs. Courtney asked Christian to move the car so Lacey could back out and leave. They both went down.
Back out and leave. Where was she going?
I have no idea.
Do you know where she was going?
I believe that she was just going to go to Huntington Beach like usual.
Right.
So they both went downstairs to move the cars and whatnot. Lacey's car was directly in front of Miss Scarfudo's car in a driveway, so there's no way she could have left to right or anything. They promptly both came back upstairs very quickly, and Lacey said, "Oh my God, Courtney, I hit your car." I walked over to the windows, I saw a little dent in the hood, and Lacey's car was still behind Miss Scarfudo's car. That's what I saw, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Sit down. I see the deductible, please, and the damage to the car.
And then these photographs are Lacey's car with the spare tire, which damaged my hood. Pictures of my hood with the imprint of her spare tire, as well as the driveway.
How long did it take to fix the car?
It took 10 days, times $23.99.
So between the $500 deductible and the rental car for the days that it took to fix your car, it was $922. What else?
I'm requesting the money that the insurance paid as well, because I do not believe that Lacey should benefit from the insurance that I pay every month.
Baloney.
Okay.
That's what insurance is for. Ms. Scarfudo. What?
I didn't hit the car.
Yes,
and
you did.
honestly,
Yes, you did.
no.
You didn't hit the car and you weren't going to leave in your car.
No, I was
You were
not.
just moving it.
No.
And
I
you,
believe...
haven't, and you don't drive your car ever.
No.
Because it's not registered and you have no insurance.
Yes.
I don't believe you. Can you think of any reason why these two people and this gentleman would lie?
Courtney has been jealous of me and Christian.
I don't want to hear her jealous. Him.
Because
Explain that to
Christian is Courtney's boyfriend.
Right.
And Courtney throws a fit when she doesn't get her way.
And what about him?
Nick is Christian's best friend.
So
And
everybody's ganging up against you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $922. Thank you. That's all. Step out.
Please excuse. You may step out.
I think she got it hit before she came over and then blamed it on me.
I think that that's ridiculous, and I don't think I'm going to waste my time and my money to come to something like this if I was lying.
She's a really jealous person, and she screams, throws fits, and cries all night when she doesn't get her way.
I think that she's just trying to get out of it.
She's just crazy.
I'm glad it's done, and like Rodney King said, can't we all just get along?
19-year-old student Darlene Connolly is suing her former friend, Thad White, for the cost of a trashed hotel room. Thad says Darlene is trying to stick him with someone else's debt.
All rise. That's case number 255 on the calendar, the matter of Connolly versus White. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Thaddeus, is that right?
Yes.
How old are you, Thaddeus?
I'm 26.
So you were 25 when you rented this hotel room and vandalized it, is that right?
That is correct.
What kind of work do you do, Thaddeus?
I'm a cook.
How long have you been a cook at the place where you're currently employed?
I'm not employed at this moment, actually.
So you do nothing?
No. I'm a little injured right now. I can't work.
What's the nature of your injury?
Well, because I work with my hands. I got a dislocated finger. I can't.
How long
do
have you had a
stuff.
dislocated finger?
About a week and a half, 2 weeks.
And prior to that, where were you working, Thaddeus?
I was working at Sylvester's in Los Osos, California.
Could you stand still?
Oh, yeah.
According to Ms. Connolly's complaint, this is what this case is about. Bert, I want you to pay careful attention. I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible so Thaddeus can understand what the case is about, okay?
Okey doke.
Thaddeus, another woman, and Miss Connolly were in a hotel room. Mr. White, that's Thaddeus over here, he had rented the hotel room. They all got splash drunk and wrecked the hotel room. Now, Miss Connolly was 17 years old at the time, but Mr. Thaddeus White and the other young lady were over the age of 18. They were, in fact, arrested.
Yes, that's correct.
Mr. White.
Sorry.
Mr. White asked Miss Connolly if she could help out because the hotel was prepared to drop the charges if the people who done vandalized the property paid for it.
Oh.
Got it?
Sounds good.
Mr. White, despite the fact that he had more years, less brains, but more years than the other two, he said to Miss Connolly, I will give you back the money, half of it, and the other lady, what was her name?
Her name is Vanessa.
Vanessa is going to give you back the other half. So Miss Connolly said, well, I was there too, and I wasn't arrested because I was only 17. They let me off the hook. Miss Connolly said, I'm going to cash in all the money I have in the world, a CD, so that I can give you the money so we can pay off the hotel, and then it'll all be neat. So far, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Mr. White paid back
I
how
gave
much?
him $400.
Leaving how much on the debt to Miss Connolly?
$1,200.
Is that right, Miss Connolly?
Yes, at the time, it was correct.
But then Vanessa, the elusive Vanessa, left the jurisdiction. So Miss Connolly said to Thaddeus, well, she left the jurisdiction, you got to pay her half too, right?
That is true.
Mr. White said, well, if that's what you have to say, I'm not paying anything. I'm not paying the $1,200 that I owe you, or I'm not paying her money either. Isn't that what you said?
Pretty much.
Now, just a couple of background questions so that I understand the nature of your stupidity.
Okay.
You rented this room when?
Around June 2nd.
What did you rent it for, Thaddeus?
To stay in a couple days, as if between moving.
So you needed a place to stay?
Yeah.
And was this a hotel or a motel?
Yeah.
It's a hotel.
Hotel.
Only your finger was injured, is that right?
As far as I know. Did have a terrible skateboarding accident, kind of hit my face. I could have done some damage.
Okay. So you rented the hotel, motel to stay in. You stayed there for a couple of days. When did you invite Miss Connolly and Vanessa to join you?
Actually, she came with one of my coworkers that I worked with at Pizza Port.
Who provided the alcohol?
I provided my own alcohol. She came with alcohol herself.
No, I didn't.
He did.
Shh. Anyway, everybody got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And you vandalized the hotel?
Yes, we did.
Any particular reason for that?
Drunken stupidity, I guess.
Well, that's honest. Where do you live now?
I live in Morro Bay, California.
With whom?
My parents.
How long have you lived with your parents?
I just moved back to Morro Bay in April.
They must be thrilled.
Oh, they love me. Can I say?
When did you make your first payment, Thaddeus?
I think it was on the first paycheck I got from my work.
Why did you stop making payments, Thaddeus?
I never knew how to get a hold of her.
I came into your work like every single day.
No, you
Don't
didn't.
talk to him, talk to me.
Well, I went into his work.
Every
because
time I
my
had the money,
boyfriend
she was
at the
never
time-
around.
You didn't have
Don't talk
any.
to him.
Thad didn't have any identification, so he couldn't even go to the bank and cash his checks. So he had to go to the bank with his boss, and it was a big deal. Half the time the bank wouldn't cash it. It's not my responsibility that he has no identification and he can't go about getting money. So every time I went in, he's like, "Oh, hold
He's
on."
25?
Yes.
And he doesn't have any money?
Oh no, I lost my wallet. I didn't have ID to cash my checks with.
What ID did you have in your wallet?
My California identification card?
How long were you without it?
I don't know. Close to 6 months?
Do you have a driver's license?
Not at the moment.
Why not?
A little trouble.
What kind of trouble?
I got a DUI a while ago.
When?
I'm not really sure. It was a long time ago.
That's why they took away your driver's license, Thaddeus? Because you had one DUI?
Yep, that's right.
No, Thaddeus, that's not right. I think you forgot something. You left out a couple of pieces to the puzzle.
No.
Did you go for classes?
Oh yeah, I did most of the classes. Then I moved.
Well, that's
and
the problem. You did most of the classes.
I didn't,
You
oh,
have
that's
to
why I
do-
can't get my license
yeah,
back
you
right
have
now.
to do all the classes, Thaddeus.
Yeah, I know.
Your parents must be thrilled having you home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
What happened to the car, Jennifer?
Andrew had been talking to his father, and his father decided that he shouldn't be driving. There was some snow on the road. It was pretty much dry.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Darlene Connolly says former friend Thad White owes for trashing a hotel room during a night of partying.
Miss Connolly, he doesn't know you from Vanessa. You have to go find Vanessa. You have to go find Vanessa because I'm not making it easy for you, madam, because you were just as stupid as he was.
Yes.
So you go find Vanessa, but he owes you $1,200. He acknowledges he owes you $1,200. He doesn't know you Vanessa. Share. Go find her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thad started out by throwing his shoes against the wall.
Cut back on the 151 or something, probably.
Then a very large and expensive wooden chair off the third floor balcony.
Pay attention more often when I'm like drinking or whatever.
And then pretty much everything else in the hotel room off the balcony.
But it doesn't really matter. Everything's fine with me.
I was young, stupid, whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Oleksiak Galgan. Step forward, please.
Real estate agent Jeff Johnson is suing 18-year-old Andrew Oleksiak and his girlfriend, 19-year-old nanny Jennifer Galgan, for damage to his vehicle. Jeff says while test driving his car, the couple had a wreck.
Mr. Johnson, son?
Yes, son Gregory.
No. You weren't there the day that your son Gregory gave them the car to test drive, or were you?
I was.
You were?
Yes.
Oh, then that makes it all the better. You want them to pay you, these two people, $5,000 because she had an accident with the car that you and or your son was selling. They came over to take a test drive. He got in the car, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You gave him permission to test drive the car, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
He got around the corner. He gave her permission to get behind the wheel. She had an accident and wrecked the car. Is that what this case is about?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's relatively easy. Give me the date.
February 18th,
What time of the day?
8:30 in the evening.
How did they get to your car? Was there a sign on the car, or did they know your son?
It was advertised for sale.
And they came over. So you didn't know them prior to this date, is that right?
I personally did not. My son did.
Oh, step up. First name?
Gregory.
Yours?
Andrew, Your Honor.
How old are you?
17.
And you?
18, Your Honor.
How old were you in February?
17, Your Honor.
First name?
Jennifer.
How old are you, Jennifer?
19.
Were you 18 or 19 in February?
I was 19.
Now, how did you know Andrew?
He had came to see the car prior to the day that that they crashed the car. He had came over to look at the car before that day.
So you didn't know him from school. It was just a business.
No, ma'am.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No.
Did you?
I did not.
That was a big mistake. Because at 17, he's not responsible. You have no case against him. You understand that? Well, if you don't, I'm telling you. He's a minor. And he is shielded by a law that says minors are not responsible for what they do. You know that?
Yes, I do.
Then if you know that, why did you sue him?
I think there was a fraud that was created when he allowed Jennifer to drive the vehicle. He had driven the vehicle once prior and had proven that he was capable of driving the vehicle, and then he somehow, in a period of 9 residential households, decided he shouldn't be driving a car without a driver's license and turned the keys over to his girlfriend.
Let me tell you this. If he was 17, 16, 15 years old and came to your house to buy the car, and you gave him permission to drive the car, which you had done before because you test drove the car before, and if he was in an accident in that car and got seriously injured, his mother would sue you. You would be liable. Do you understand that? A minor cannot be held liable for acts such as breach of contract, negligence. He wasn't even negligent. He did something that a kid would do. He said, Jennifer, you can drive the car. Is this your girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. But Jennifer's responsible. What happened to the car, Jennifer?
We traded places, and I started
Why did
driving.
you trade places after he let Andrew drive the car?
Because Andrew had been talking to his father, and his father decided that he shouldn't be driving. Andy thought about that, and then there was some snow on the road. It was pretty much dry.
Andy was talking to his father in the car
No,
after Mr.
no.
Johnson gave him the keys?
No, after the first time that Andy had driven the car, he was talking to his dad.
Okay, just a second. Jennifer, I just want to get it all clear. Andrew took a test drive on the car and then said to you at some point on the 18th of February, I would like to go back and test drive the car again to see if I want to buy it. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
And you said, fine, let's go. You get to the Johnson house and Mr. Johnson is there. Andy says, take the keys, I want to take the car around. I'd like my girlfriend to ride with me. Is that,
Yes,
in
Your Honor.
sum and substance, that's what happened?
Yes.
Now, what I want to know, Jennifer, is when did this epiphany strike Andrew about the conversation that he had had with his father?
Oh, he was thinking about it the whole time. He was worried, but
well, just a minute. Was he
wasn't
worried
really-
as you? Just a second, Jennifer. Was he worried as you pulled up to Mr. Johnson's house? Do you think? Just a second. You think he was worried when he pulled up to Mr. Johnson's house?
I guess.
And was he worried when he took the keys from Mr. Johnson and Mr. Johnson put the keys in his hand and Andy got in the car? Was he worried then?
I guess.
And was he worried when he took the keys and put the keys in the ignition and turned the ignition on and put his foot on the gas?
Yes, but then...
And was he worried when he pulled out of the driveway or away from Mr. Johnson's car and pulled around the block? He was worried?
Yes.
Okay, so this epiphany came to him that he could no longer drive this car as he turned the corner. Is that what happened?
Yes,
the
Your Honor.
epiphany came to you.
Yes.
You know what an epiphany is?
Not quite, Your Honor.
Stay in school. Okay, so after Andrew had the epiphany, I assume you know what an epiphany is. We give a test later. Andrew said what to you?
He just asked me to drive it. He said he...
What did he say? No, I want to know what he said. He didn't say. He said, hon, will you drive the car? Or, listen, I'm going to get out of the car now, or I just had my epiphany.
He just said, you know what, there's a little bit of snow on the road. I really don't think I should be driving. Would you please take over for me?
Why did you get in the car with him in the first place knowing he didn't have a license?
I wasn't really thinking about that.
You hadn't had your epiphany yet. So what happened?
I started driving. It was pretty dark. For the most part, the roads were clear, and then all of a sudden the road was covered in snow. This car started fishtailing, and it hit a tree.
How was it destroyed?
The front end was pretty bad.
What kind of car is this, Mr. Johnson?
This is a Mazda MX-6, 1993.
You have a blue book on the car with the mileage that you had on your car?
I don't have a blue book value, but I have an estimate of the damages.
The car's 10 years old. How many miles did the car have on it?
Car had
75,000.
What were you selling it for?
3,800, I believe.
How much was
We had
the car
agreed.
listed?
We had agreed to 3,800, Your Honor.
Why are you suing for $5,000?
The damage repair was in excess to $5,000, so if they didn't want to finish the transaction, we would have had to repair the car in order to make it saleable again. In its current condition, it's certainly not saleable.
But you agreed to sell it to him for $3,800, so the value of the car to you was $3,800.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Where's the car now?
The car is parked behind a friend's shop and not drivable.
Well, it's not drivable. Maybe Jennifer can drive it. She just bought it for $3,800. Right, Jennifer? It's your fault. You shouldn't have gotten behind the wheel of the car. You shouldn't have been driving with him. He had no license. Now, Mr. Johnson was probably wrong. He should have said to Andrew, Andrew, let me see your driver's license, because I want to make sure you have a valid driver's license and that you're over the age of 18. Should have done that. What?
Your Honor, state of Michigan is a no-fault state. I'm not sure if you're aware of no fault, but in this particular case, Mr. Johnson's car was not insured. It did not have collision or comprehensive insurance. It had what they call personal liability and property damage.
Yes.
And in Michigan, we have the mini tort liability law, which enables somebody to sue for up to only $500, only to cover a deductible in which insurance would pay for. So Mr. Johnson should only be able to get $0 because he was uninsured, Your Honor.
Let me ask you this question, Andrew. Let's talk about common sense. The law is supposed to have a certain common sense to it. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if the law does not have a common sense to it, then it's wrong. Is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Yes. Certain laws were enacted at the time of horse and buggies. That's no longer applicable. When was the last time you saw a horse and buggy on the 10 freeway? At the end of a trial, what's supposed to happen is the just and fair thing. You and your girlfriend deprived Mr. Johnson of the ability to sell his car for $3,800 because you were not honest with Mr. Johnson about the fact that you did not have a driver's license. Now, when you went back, according to your girlfriend, you felt a little guilty because you had conned him, because according to your girlfriend, you knew you shouldn't be driving. You knew you didn't have a license, which is the reason why you asked her to drive the car. She also did the wrong thing because you're right around the corner. All you had to do was pull the car over, park it, go back and say, the roads look bad. I don't have a license. I left the car there. I'm sorry. You chose not to do that. You chose to let Jennifer drive the car.
Jeffrey Johnson chose to threaten my entire family to kill us if we didn't pay.
I want you to practice these words when you're in bed at night, when you have a quiet moment. I want you to try practicing these words because I don't think that you've said them often enough in your life at the appropriate time. I'm sorry I did the wrong thing. 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 It was my fault. I'll take responsibility. I want you to practice that. You'll be a much happier adult when you do. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,800 against you, Jennifer. That's all.
What is excused? You can step out.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, for me, this case was about teaching my son the difference between right and wrong.
You should have never given me the keys in the first place. I'm a minor.
Things happen in life, but you have to step up to the plate and take care of them as they happen.
I originally had agreed to pay him the $3,800 until he wrote these insane comments on the internet.
It was joking.
Quote, neither of us have collisions, so not much insurance can do. If he ends up blowing me off, there will be hell to pay.
They were threats, but they weren't threats that I planned on doing.
If I'm screwed out of $3,700, blood will flow and my path will be secretive.
I didn't plan on acting out on anything.
Glad they got their money.
23-year-old student Kim Siegel is suing assistant grocery store manager Sherry Starkey for damage to her vehicle. Kim says Sherry's 15-year-old son Jonathan ran into her car with his skateboard. Sherry is countersuing for her son's medical bills.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. That's case number 259 on the calendar in the matter of Siegel versus Starkey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Well, stand up here. Ms. Siegel, I assume this young man is the young man who you allege hit your car while he was skateboarding in a parking lot, causing the windshield to shatter. You want his mother and he to be responsible for the damage to your car.
Yes.
Miss Starkey says that you hit her son because you probably were driving recklessly through the parking lot, and she wants you to be responsible for his medical bills. He was slightly injured. You were very lucky. What does that mean? What kind of look is that?
I got scars from it. I have a scar and then...
You could have been dead.
Yes, I know that.
So then you were very lucky.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
That's all. I knew I'd get there. All right, Miss Siegel, do you want to tell me when this happened and your version of the events?
Yes, it happened May 30th of this year. I was driving through the parking lot of Albertsons. It was a full parking lot. I was going about 20 miles an hour.
Where were you coming from and going to?
I was coming from these stores right here, and I was getting ready to pull out on Justin Road. I was going through almost to the road that goes into Wendy's, and I look up, and there's a kid on my windshield. And I slammed on my brakes, and he flew off. I put it in park and went out and made sure he was okay.
What time of the day was this, about 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it was about 3 o'clock. I have pictures of my windshield, and I have a picture of the parking lot.
Let me see pictures of windshield, pictures
And
of
then
the parking lot.
I have pictures of my car, and there's an arrow with the damage. We've had the damage since been fixed.
You didn't take a picture of the dent?
No. I have a police report that says where the damage was.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Okay. It's on the back right there. It's his statement, the police
You're
statement.
very lucky. What's your first name?
Jonathan.
Jonathan, you're very lucky.
Yes, ma'am.
Must have a very hard head. Were you wearing a helmet?
No, ma'am.
Did you tell the police that you darted across the parking lot?
No, ma'am.
What did you tell the police that you did?
I didn't. They never took a statement from me, ma'am.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Police officer didn't lie. Police officer asked you a question, and you said the pedestrian, that was you, advised that he darted across the parking lot and never saw the vehicle.
I did see the vehicle, but it was further back in the parking lot. And when I got 3/4 of the way through the lane that she was traveling down, and then Heather, the lady that was coming the opposite direction of her, saw me and stopped. And like I saw her, but I figured she was going to stop because the witness had stopped because she had saw me before I'd even gotten the street. So I guess.
So you figured that she would stop. You figured that she saw you too. You made a mistake.
Yes, I did.
There we go. That's why we're here.
But she also, I'm assuming she was on her, I'm positive that she was on her cell phone. And there was,
Just a minute, let's listen to me. You think, you assume, you're positive? What was it? You think, you assume, or you're positive?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Just a second. We're going to get there. So, one lady, I assume this lady was coming in the opposite direction.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
saw you and stopped her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you weren't in the right. You didn't have the right of way. You did not have the right of way. There's no stop sign there, right? And you're not supposed to be skateboarding in the parking lot, right? So you assume this lady saw you and stopped, so you assume the other person was going to stop because she must have seen you also, right? Well, what if she didn't see you?
That's what happened if she didn't
Then
see me.
you should have stopped because you saw her. It was clear you saw her.
There was no way I could have stopped.
Why? Were you going too fast?
Yes, ma'am. Because
Well, then you shouldn't have been going too fast in the parking lot, sir. That's not what a parking lot is for. What if there was a little child walking across the street? You would have hit the little child on your skateboard?
No, ma'am.
Well, you would have if you couldn't stop. If you couldn't stop, you were going too fast.
I would have moved.
Well, then why didn't you move if you saw her car?
Because of the moment, if the child was walking one way, I could have moved this way. The car was going at such a fast rate that I couldn't. That's enough to where I could hit, and it's a bigger
Do you understand
vehicle.
what he's saying? He's making no sense. None. I'll hear you. Step up. Mother wasn't there. You were there. You were driving a car. You don't know who he is. You don't know who she
No,
is.
I don't know either one of them.
You were driving your car. You saw him coming down the street.
I was pulling in right here. I saw her car. Her car was all the way back here when I saw her. I mentioned to my daughter, I said, surely she sees that child. She was on her cell phone, and he was 3/4 across this divider right here. He was almost to the other side when she hit him. It was not this child's fault. I don't have anything to gain from coming to court and
You're
testifying for
absolutely
this
right.
little boy. She jumped out of her car. I threw my car into park. I jumped out to see him because she hit him in such a force. He went up in the air. His shoe went off. He hit the windshield, bounced on the hood, bounced on the floor. And when I went to the boy's aid, he's on the ground, and at the time, I assumed he was dead. And by her own admission, she was speeding 20 miles an hour in a 5-mile-an-hour parking lot. She jumped out of her car, cell phone in hand, screaming
called
at this child.
911.
Excuse me. screaming at this child, "You hit my car. Look what you did to my car." The whole time she screamed at this child saying that. At one point, the police officer had to tell her to shut up. And this child is bleeding from the head. He's bleeding from the arm. His shoe is off over in the other side of the car.
Was there a stop sign where you were? Were you crossing over?
I had actually just turned on to right here. I'm here on 407. Fixing to turn into the parking lot to go to...
so you had just turned in.
And when I was turning in, she was here.
Okay.
And if she had been paying attention, she would have seen the child. There's no way she couldn't have if she had not been on that cell phone and had not been speeding.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He hit the left front corner panel. He hit me. He skated into the side of my car.
If I find that you were on a cell phone, I don't care whether he came in through the sunroof.
And later today,
You acknowledge that you did toss pudding out of the car.
Yes.
What kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding?
It was a vanilla chocolate swirl.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kim Siegel says 15-year-old Jonathan Starkey ran into her car with a skateboard. Jonathan says Kim was on her cell phone when she hit him.
Well, I'm pretty confident, based upon what you tell me, that she had a cell phone in her hand.
Oh, yes, she did.
Oh, I believe that. Now I believe that. I didn't believe it when he said it.
He was
because I don't think he saw it, because I don't think he was paying attention to anything. But I believe it when you tell me that she had a cell phone in her hand.
No. Okay, she was 30 feet in front of, there's a big space between where the Wendy's parking lot and C. There's no way she could have seen in my car or seen what I was doing. And I had both hands on the steering wheel. My cell phone was in my purse next to me. And I didn't yell at the boy. I got out to make sure he was okay. I got my cell phone. I called 911. She sat him down on the rock and was telling him not to move because he could have internal injuries. And all Jonathan kept saying was, I'm fine, don't tell my mom. I've fallen and gotten hurt worse. I'm okay, just let me go home, just let me go home.
So?
No.
What does that have to do with being on a cell phone?
Well, I wanted to say I wasn't.
Why would she say that you were on a cell phone if you weren't? Do you know her?
No, I don't.
She doesn't know this lady at all. Why would she say that you were on a cell phone?
I don't know. I wasn't on my cell phone.
Yeah, you were.
No.
Yeah, you were.
I was not on my cell phone. It was in my purse.
I don't believe that. There is a basis for you to tell me you weren't on your cell phone, but there's no basis for her to lie. And I don't think that you have to necessarily see somebody who's speeding through using a skateboard in parking lots. And that's what he's supposed to do. I mean, there's no question. You understand that. You're not supposed to be on your skateboard in a parking lot, going too fast so that you can't stop. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you're not blameless, but I believe you were on a cell phone. And since you're driving the car, and the car is a bigger piece of equipment, madam, you don't get a penny. I believe that you were on the cell phone. I do. I also think, stand up here, I also think that you have to accept a certain amount of responsibility for what happened. She wasn't looking where she was going because she was on a cell phone, but she wasn't looking out for a skateboarder. She's in a parking lot, and you were going too fast in the parking lot, and you got hurt, fortunately, not seriously, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of medical bills did you have?
I had to go, the ambulance ride there, and then I had to go to the hospital for the emergency room fee, and they had to clean up some stuff on my head and my arm.
Okay. Let me see the bills that you had.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Uh-huh.
I was traveling only about 15 to 20 miles an hour. The police weren't really sure how fast. And he hit the left front corner panel. He hit me. He skated into the side of my car.
If I find that you were on a cell phone, I don't care whether he came in through the sunroof. I believe you were on your cell phone. That's what I believe. Okay. I believe that because you say you weren't. She says you were. And she has absolutely no reason to lie. All right, let me see the bills. Jonathan, your pain and suffering you have to deal with yourself. I'm not entertaining any applications for your pain and suffering because stay out of parking lots.
Yeah, I know. I'm way more careful than what I was.
Good. Now, when you're dealing with a pedestrian, you have to be so vigilant. That's why they have 5-mile speed limits in parking lots rather than 15 or 20. Because people dart out of cars, kids get into a car, they get away from their parents. You know, parents drop their hands for a second, kid darts out. So 20 miles an hour, you can kill them. 5 miles an hour, they have a chance. That doesn't mean a parking lot is there for your pleasure and for your amusement and entertainment. It's not, because she has to be vigilant looking for people coming out of cars, and she has to be vigilant with respect to cars in and out of the parking lot, but not somebody who's speeding at probably far greater speed than 20 miles an hour on your skateboard. You got me?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Now, if she had a cell phone in her hand, which I believe she's not entitled to recover, period, end of discussion. And you have to pay for the medical bills, madam, because she's not responsible, because you were at fault. He was no genius, but he's a baby. He's 15 years old. All right, judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $532. The claim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Got a phone call saying my son had been hit by a car.
He had hit right above my left tire and went up on my windshield, and I slammed on the brakes.
I was worried, and I shook the whole rest of the way to where I was going.
My windshield was shattered, and I have a kid on my windshield.
He said that she got out of the car, and all she was worried about was her car.
Shock, hysteria. I was a nutcase.
His child has had sleepless nights because of it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hassanzadeh versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Kimberly Hassanzadeh and her daughter, 17-year-old Ashley, are suing singer Paul Clark and his son, 17-year-old Jeremy, for damage to her car. Ashley claims Jeremy and his friends pelted her with pudding.
What's your first name?
Jeremy.
How old are you, Jeremy?
17.
Are you an idiot?
No.
Is this your father?
Yes, he is.
Do you think your father would be very distressed to learn that after all that he's invested in you, he invested in an idiot?
I suppose so.
Yeah, right? Spent all that money? Let him drive a car? What kind of car was your father letting you drive?
This was a 91 Accord.
And who owns it?
It was actually my grandmother's.
So you have a grandmother who indulges you too?
Yeah.
Are you an only child, Jeremy?
No.
You have older siblings?
I have 2 older sisters and an older brother.
So you're the baby. Oh! There goes the problem, Mr. Clark. He's the baby. Ashley, did you know Jeremy before this event?
No, I did not.
Ashley's just driving her car, and you were driving your grandmother's car, and there were some other friends of yours that were in their cars.
Yes.
And some other friends who were also idiots, and they decided to throw pudding.
Yeah.
Not anything bad, just pudding.
Yeah, it was just...
What kind of pudding? Chocolate pudding? Vanilla pudding?
It was a vanilla chocolate swirl.
And had you all gotten these pudding cups before you got into your cars?
Yeah.
Where did you get them from, Jeremy?
It's a local grocery store.
You bought a six-pack?
I think there is 2 6-packs per car. There's 3 cars.
Did you have spoons?
I actually did. Because
Okay. No, I'm trying to put this all together. You don't mind if I do this to your son, do you, Mr. Clark?
Fine, ma'am.
Okay, now you're driving your grandmother's car.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that you, in fact, did toss pudding out of the car.
Yes.
But it is your contention that your pudding didn't hit her car. It was somebody else's pudding that hit her car.
It was a failed attempt.
You had a failed attempt. And so that's your defense.
Yes.
You say his pudding landed in your car.
Yes.
Okay. You're driving along, and you have your pudding in your hand.
Not while I was driving, no.
Where was it?
It was in the center console.
Now, what prompted you, Jeremy, to pick up that pudding and chuck it out of your car?
The initial was that they flipped us off and sped off.
Ashley and her friends?
Yes.
Let me ask you this question. When you say they flipped you off, you do not have to demonstrate. Bird understands what that means, and so do I.
Yeah.
Were you saying anything to them, or any of your friends?
There was a light conversation, but...
There was light conversation?
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Like what kind of light conversation?
Well, we were driving next to him, and I had waved to him because they're looking over, so I politely waved.
Show me how you did that.
Kind of stuff. Hey, how you doing? Type wave. We're going 45, 50 miles an hour down the road, and you can't really tell what they're saying.
Okay, so then they flipped you off, and you got mad. And did they flip you off, or your friends as well?
Well, it was the car. It was kind of they took off and.
Well, but there was more than one car.
True,
so
but yeah,
you went like
it was
this.
my car.
So you were the one that was disrespected.
Yes, I felt disrespected.
Do you have a photograph of your car?
I took these photographs after she had cleaned it, but it
Well, I
will
wanna
still
see
show
what-
it got on the speaker that it's the area she couldn't get it because it's convertible and the top was down, and she could not get it out of all the little areas.
Okay, did you pay to have it cleaned?
Yes. Here's the receipt.
Good.
We just asked them to clean the areas where the pudding had gotten into the speaker and all the little areas of her soft top. The convertible top was down.
Okay. Now, Jeremy, who was it who landed their pudding in the plaintiff's car?
We actually don't know. We know what car it came
That's
from.
all I want to know.
Okay.
You actually don't know.
We actually
But
don't
it would
know.
be safe to say, Jeremy, since you were the one who was disrespected,
Yes.
and you were the one who threw the pudding first, even though it didn't land on the car, right?
Uh-huh.
Listen to this logic, Jeremy.
Okay.
'Cause you seem like a at least academically smart boy.
Well, thank you.
Not socially adept, but academically smart boy. It would be a fair statement that your friends followed suit in the other cars, right?
Yes.
So you are a leader.
I am.
You know what
would be
leaders
considered a
do?
leader.
They take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So now we have, for your team, $89.99 plus tax, $96.76 for detailing. He's got to pay for being a fool. That's all. Right?
Right.
Good. No excuses. I love it. I love it. He's not such an idiot after all, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, ma'am.
All that money that you spent on the baby wasn't wasted. Judgment for the
I have great
plaintiff for the
kids.
amount of $96.76. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think Judge Judy did great. We really like her.
It was an idiot act on my part.
I wouldn't call it flirting by any means.
It's an example pudding. It shows that it's just a harmless piece of plastic with some tasty pudding in it.
We were just driving around, and they were the ones who were trying to get our attention first.
You know, it's from the car out. It's kind of a lob. You know, we weren't looking for damage. Soft lob.
I think it's boys being really silly.
I apologize if you were hurt during the whole thing.
Apology accepted.
Oh, thank you.
21-year-old student Lindsay Highland is suing her ex-boyfriend, 22-year-old Eddie Rubio, and his friend, 22-year-old Jason Johnson, for wrecking a car that was rented in her name.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 233 on the calendar in the matter of Highland versus Rubio Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Highland, you did a very, very stupid thing that I'm sure you'll never, never do again, which is that you allowed both of these gentlemen to use your credit card for the purposes of renting a car. There was an accident. I understand the accident wasn't their fault, according to their answer, but you still got stuck with the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want them to reimburse you for that bill.
Yes, ma'am.
They say you should have gotten insurance, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which one of these gentlemen do you know?
Eddie, the one in the blue.
How do you know Eddie?
Me and Eddie have been dating. We started dating in September.
Are you still dating?
No.
When did you stop dating?
We stopped dating about 3 weeks after the accident.
And tell me about the request to use your credit card and when that was.
Around the last week of February, Eddie approached me concerning their Mardi Gras trip. They said they had all their plans taken care of, but the matter of a rental car was the problem. They said that they couldn't rent a car because none of them had a credit card. So
how did they get a room for Mardi Gras? How did you get a room, Eddie?
We stayed with the sister.
And there were 3 of you going?
Yes, there was.
And none of you had a credit card?
None of us.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Well, ma'am, I did have a credit card. It's just we went to the airport to rent one, and they said I had to be 23 years of age, so they wouldn't let me.
Oh.
But I had one.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
How old are you?
21.
How come it was okay for her to rent a car using her credit card?
They went to a different location than I went to.
Well, why didn't you go to the same location she went to?
I had no means of transportation.
Your Honor, I offered to take all of the guys to the rental place with me. Eddie was the only one who decided to go. Jason decided to stay in bed. He didn't want to go that way.
Were you living together?
No. We live close by each other. Those two were living together at the time.
Okay. So you went to a rental place, and which rental place did you go to?
Enterprise.
Who went? You?
Myself and Eddie.
Let me see the paperwork that you filled out. And who filled it out?
I did.
And when she filled out the paperwork, Eddie, where were you?
I was right beside her.
Did you put him down as a driver?
I put all of them down as a driver.
Authorized drivers over 21. No, it doesn't list anybody else's name.
She didn't ask me. She said, are all the guys going to be driving? I said, yes, ma'am.
You got to be more careful.
Yes, ma'am.
But he was there.
He was
right?
Yes, I was.
And you were watching her fill this out.
Yes, I was.
And you saw that she declined any insurance.
No, I didn't. I thought
well,
she
then
had
you should have
insurance.
looked more carefully.
Ma'am, we discussed in my house that we were going to get the insurance. And we had already figured the price in for the insurance. So when they went, she had the money. So we knew that there was going to be insurance. So there was no need to ask after that.
Go ahead. Your Honor, at the time when we went to rent the car, none of them had very much money. I lent Eddie $200 to make the trip.
Is that right, Eddie?
Yes, she did.
Go ahead.
And when the lady asked me, she said, would you like insurance? And I looked at Eddie, I said, you'll be driving the car, it'll be in your possession. He said, we can't afford it, we don't need it.
Did you say that to her?
No, I
Eddie?
didn't, ma'am.
Just say you weren't there, right?
No, ma'am.
Move over. And don't open your mouth again. And take your hands away from your pockets. Don't open your mouth again, because Because you weren't there because you didn't get out of bed.
Yes, ma'am.
So don't open your mouth again until I ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You were standing there and you saw her fill out this form where she declined insurance. There is no question in my mind that if you didn't watch her, you should have.
I thought she got the insurance.
I don't care what you thought. What'd you go there with her for?
Because we needed to get the car, and I just went. She wanted someone to go with her, and I did. I thought she had insurance. I thought she...
You're supposed to know. And I believe her when she says that she said to you, and you said, we don't have that much money. You'll be fine.
No, I didn't, ma'am.
Especially since you didn't even have enough money to go on the trip.
I loaned some money. I paid her back.
No, you didn't loan. You borrowed.
Borrowed some money.
How much money did they give you for the car?
Eddie and Jason gave me $90 apiece, and they said that they were going to pay the rest when they got back. We didn't have to pay for the car until we returned it.
What about the third person? No. So they didn't even have enough money to give you the entire amount of money before they went?
No.
You're really not smart. You'll never do it again.
No, ma'am.
And you will certainly tell all your friends, letting anybody else rent a car on their credit card is the dumbest thing that you can do.
Yes, Your
well,
Honor.
among the dumbest things that you can do.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who was driving?
Ryan.
Where is he?
He's not here.
He was afraid to fly.
No, my dear. He was afraid of me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lindsay Highland says ex-boyfriend Eddie Rubio and his friend Jason Johnson owe for a wrecked car. Lindsay says the vehicle was rented with her credit card.
You took a chance. You lost. Why should she get stuck with your problem? What do you do for a living?
I'm a student
A student where?
at Upper Iowa University.
When are you graduating?
Next year.
Why is it taking you so long?
I just took a year off college.
Why did you take off a year?
I just wanted to take off a year. Didn't feel like going to school for the year, so I took it off.
Who's paying for your school now?
Financial aid and loans. But when we got the car, I told her to get the insurance, because I've been through it in the past.
No.
And I had
No,
insurance.
sweetheart. You did not tell her to get the insurance because it was too much money. It would have practically doubled the cost of the car to get the insurance. You didn't even have enough money to give her for the rental car to begin with. And even if you said to her, get the insurance, you were standing right there. You have a mouth. You say to her, Lindsay, I told you we must have the insurance. I'm not taking the car out without the insurance. You could say that, can't you? And I want you to repeat after me. Lindsay,
Lindsay,
I'm not taking the car out without the insurance.
I'm not taking the car out without the
See how easy that was?
I did do it.
No. So, I'm not taking the car out without insurance. Here it is the paperwork. Even after you took a year off from college, you didn't lose the first 3 years, so I assume you can read English. Is that right, Eddie?
Yes, I can.
So that you have an opportunity to look at the paperwork before you put it in the car, right?
Correct.
The fact that you didn't, that's your problem.
We didn't find out until we got in the accident.
Listen to me, Eddie.
So,
You're not following what I'm saying to you. You were there with her. Lindsay, I'm not taking the car out without the insurance. You look at the paperwork, which you keep in the car, because you have to keep the paperwork in the car, right, Eddie?
yes.
And you say, I can't take this car out, it doesn't have insurance. I'm not obligating myself. I'm leaving the car here. What do you want?
They told me that that I could just use my insurance. If anything happened, I could just put it on my insurance.
Who told you that?
The guys. They were all aware that there was no insurance.
I believe that they were... Now, Eddie, tell me about the accident.
We're coming back, and in Jackson, Mississippi, there was a semi that...
Give me whole sentences. There's a semi what?
Semi-truck.
Semi means half. There's a half.
There was
What you talk to me
semi-truck.
is about a half. There was a half that what?
There was a semi-truck that ran us off the road, and we hit the embankment, and they came back and hit it again. We had a flat tire, so we couldn't chase them. So he just left, and they...
Just a second. So a truck hit you. Let me get this. Truck hit you, and then after it hit you, it came back and it hit you again?
Well, we hit the side rail, and it came back, and we met again.
Oh, okay. It didn't come back to hit you purposely
Yeah.
the second time. Is that right?
Correct.
Go ahead.
So it was considered a hit and run. So it wasn't our fault.
Mm-hmm.
So why should we pay if she should have got the insurance?
May I speak?
Who was driving?
Ryan.
Where is he?
He's not here. He didn't show up.
He was afraid to fly. And he told...
No, my dear, he was afraid of me.
Yes.
All right. Move over. What do you want?
Ma'am, I did have enough money for the insurance because I was going to use my credit card to rent the car. So we went and found out the first time I had enough on my card. I just was not of age.
Listen to me. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I coulda rented the car on my credit card. I woulda if I got out of bed. And I coulda because I had enough money. But you didn't, right?
No, ma'am.
Should this cost you?
$7,800. And Your Honor, this has gone on my credit, and I'm in
Just a second. So have you paid it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So the money has to go to Enterprise.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And so you're suing for the maximum allowable in this court, which is $5,000, but whatever recovery that you make, the check will be made payable to Enterprise. Okay.
And this is now affecting my financial aid, and I may not be able to finish my senior year of college.
Well, next time, you think twice about, being foolish. It's certainly not affecting his last year of college, and it looks to me as if you're going to get a lot more out of your last year of college than Eddie. You can move back now. The two of you were responsible because you had an agreement with her. Your agreement was that you were going to rent this car. She was merely providing the mechanism for you to do that. You had the opportunity to use his credit card, chose not to do that. You used hers. You had knowledge of the fact that insurance was declined. You chose to drive the car anyway. This is your problem, not hers. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
There's no excuse. You may step out.
I'm glad that she saw that I made a mistake, but that they were ultimately responsible.
I feel bad, but it's her fault. She should have got the insurance.
He refused to pay me back. He said that it was my problem, and he understands we're going out, but he can't afford it, and I signed the paper, so it was my problem.
That little bit of trip wasn't worth it, man. It really wasn't worth it.
And now the next case.
All parties to the matter of Mayers versus Reedy. Step forward, please.
Heavy equipment operator Larry Huffine is suing his ex-girlfriend, Sheindlin Donovan, for switching around his prepaid grave plots. Larry claims she forged a document to do it.
Line in the courtroom, please. Now this is case number 127 on the calendar in the matter of Huffine versus Donovan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. Huffine, was the defendant... What I gather is you had one son.
Yes.
Her daughter was in a relationship with your son.
Yes.
And he was tragically killed.
Right.
At that time, you decided to buy some burial plots.
5 of them.
So that when your son was buried, you would know that you would be buried next to him and where the family would be. She bought plots above you.
Her daughter did.
In any event, this is your complaint. You found out that a stranger had been buried in one of your plots.
Yes.
And it is your claim that Ms. Donovan caused that to happen.
Yes.
And that she forged your signature for the authorization with the cemetery.
Yes.
In order to move around the spots.
Right.
You say you never gave you permission for that.
That's correct.
And you want to be compensated.
Yes.
Ms. Donovan says that you did, in fact, give your permission, and she says that she can prove that you gave your permission. And she is counterclaiming because she said she's had to go through all kinds of legal gymnastics to clear herself of these allegations. So first tell me, when did your son pass away?
In 1997, December 24th.
And how did he die?
The doctor made a mistake, drilled into his brain.
So it was a surgical error?
Yes.
How long had you been living with Miss Donovan at the time?
Less than 2 years.
And how long had your son been involved in a relationship with her daughter?
Probably since, 13 years old.
How old was he when he died?
18.
Now, can you show me, please, the burial plot locations? I would like to be able to see that so I could put it in context.
I have a video right here, if you'd like it.
I would. Can you hold that a second, please? Mr. Huffine, can you walk up to the monitor, please?
Yes.
And I'd like you to sort of point out with me to your figure as it's being explained to me.
All righty.
Okay.
This one here is my parents. They're located in the upper cemetery. This right here is my son. When he passed away, I bought these 5 lots right here, this one included. I bought these 2 for me and whoever I was married to, and my ex-wife and whoever she was married to at the time. And the son was in the middle.
Okay, thank you. So you bought your sons, one for you, one for your wife, if should you remarry, one for your former wife, and her mate,
Yes, I
so
did.
that you would all be together. Now, where did the defendant's daughter buy their plot?
She bought the one in front of my son.
Excuse me? One, just a second. One plot or two?
Just one.
In front of his?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
And on May 3rd, I got a call from my ex-wife, and she said, I'm at the cemetery. And she said, it scared me to death. Someone was in your plot, my plot that I bought. And I said, no, I think you're mistaken. And she says, no, I'm not. So I called Jerry, and I said, you didn't do anything with these plots, did you? And she goes, no, I didn't. So I went down the cemetery, and I seen that Anthony David was buried in one of my plots. So I went up to the...
Was it the one right next to your son or
No,
one over?
it was the end. So I went up to the main office there at the cemetery, and they gave me a letter that Jerry had wrote and forged and switched plots on me.
Can I see a copy of that
Yes.
letter, please?
And here's one from the notary if you'd like to look at that too, saying that he did not do that.
I'd like to see both. Continue.
And at this point, I went through different attorneys. They explained to me what she had did, and they gave me a copy of that.
And you said I never signed it.
No, I never signed that. She also called the cemetery and told them she did not remember doing this.
That's hearsay. Yes, I'll hear you.
I thought it would make it easier. I do have copies from the cemetery of the plots. That would make it easier for you.
I'd like to see them, please. Okay. Tell me the circumstances surrounding the plaintiff agreeing to switch cemetery plots so that you and your daughter would be together.
Side by side. I'd be head-to-head with Larry. She would be head-to-head with Michael. Michael's mother and her boyfriend would be on one side of Michael.
And Anthony Davis is a stranger to everybody.
Right.
So I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding Mr. Huffine agreeing to make that change, which in effect would say to him, if you marry either your wife or your ex-wife's mate could not be buried in the same line. Explain that to me.
When we bought the plots, and we did...
By the way, who bought them?
I did.
Larry did. They were under his name.
He paid for them?
Yes, but...
So he paid for them, so they were his plots?
Right. But all my monies went into Larry's checking account, and I do have proof of that.
I don't care about that.
Okay.
He bought the plots?
He bought the plots. They were in his name. At some point, I don't have a date, but I believe it was in early 1999, my daughter had said she wished that I would have bought my plot next to her. And she said, well, I wonder if you can switch it. I said, I don't know. So I called the cemetery. I asked the cemetery, can you exchange your plot if you want to? They said you can, as long as you do it before the last payment is made, and it has to be a letter.
From the owner.
A request
From the
in
owner.
writing, notarized. So I didn't do it immediately. I thought about it for a little bit of time, and to be honest, I don't remember any specific hard, long talks between Larry and myself. I just remember that he did agree to it. I did write the letter out myself.
You wrote the letter out yourself, and that was in 1999.
Correct.
Were you still together as a couple then?
Yes, we were.
When did you separate from Mr. Huffine?
The end of August 1999.
So not far after this.
Not
so I
far.
assume things had not been going well for a while.
Larry had suffered a lot of personality changes due, I guess, to Michael's death.
So things had not been going well for a while.
Right.
If you separated in August, and this was done in May, it was a brief few months. So I assume that in May, things were not going well between the two of you.
Everything seemed to be going fine, except for that Larry was very depressed a lot.
So things were not going fine.
Well, I don't know
I'm not
exactly what
interested
you
in what
mean.
you
I
have to
mean, we
say
weren't
now.
screaming, fighting, tearing each other's hair out.
Well, then how come you separated a couple of months later?
Because the end of June or July, he went to work in Utah, and he had an affair.
Yes?
And when I found out, I moved out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's his handwriting.
That is inconsistent with the notary's logbook.
Well, his log states that just one individual came.
Correct, and that's Miss Donovan, and she signed a cemetery affidavit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larry Huffine claims ex-girlfriend Sheindlin Donovan forged documents so she could switch around his prepaid grave plots.
So things were going absolutely fine until that time.
To me, they were.
And to you?
No, before I told her in the beginning of '99 she would be moving to start saving her money up and get her replaced.
When did you tell her that?
Probably February.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with her.
It took place. She told me she was going to move her daughter back in. I said, no, she's not. And she says, well, she's not moving back in. I'm moving out. And I said, well, I have to go to Utah till the end of August. When I come back, have your own place.
Why did you not want her to move her daughter back in?
Many different reasons. Her daughter was very disrespectful. She was 19 years of age. She was experiencing an ecstasy drug, and I didn't want to be around it. And I told her no, and she could not accept that answer.
And that was in February?
That was in February. She knew.
After February, did you continue to live as a family with the defendant?
Yes.
Well, then how did she know you were serious?
Because when I told her she was moving out, I was very serious. She knew that.
Okay. Was your daughter living with you in January of 1999?
I don't believe so.
Was there a time when she was planning on moving back in 1999?
I don't remember.
Okay. It is your claim, Ms. Donovan, that the plaintiff agreed to switching of these plots. And according to your answer, you have an expert witness who is prepared to testify with regard to that. I'd like to hear the witness. Is that you?
Yes.
Step up, please. Witness been sworn, Berg?
Witness has been sworn, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Andrea McNichol.
Ms. McNichol, when did you become familiar with the defendant?
Well, actually just by telephone on May 8th, 2003.
And what did she tell you?
She asked me to examine a document, I guess you're calling that the cemetery plot document that
Yes.
was notarized. I asked her for the original. It's always best to examine the original. She called back later and said she made an attempt to get the original, that they would not make it available. I told her that anything that I could find would have to be contingent on that the copies that I looked at were true representations of the original. In other words, sometimes you get the original and you see that someone had cut and pasted something on there, or there are things on that that you cannot see when you see the copies. After that, she provided a large sampling of signatures. I told her to get the signatures of Larry Huffine and the notary.
Okay, this letter from the notary. Did you, in fact, examine the signature on the notary?
Yes.
And you concluded that the signature on the notary was the same?
Yes.
To my naked eye, the J's are totally different.
Well, if you'll notice on the letter, he writes his J's 4 times.
Well, he wrote it because he evidently looked at this. You've seen this logbook?
Yes.
It is clear that according to the notary's logbook, he did, in fact, notarize something for Miss Donovan.
Correct. But I would like to call your attention to the fact I was also provided a large sampling of his signatures, not just the one.
May I see them, please?
Yes. Actually, I prepared this whole report. This is the copy they made for you.
Now, that's what I'm looking at. Well, clearly, the signature on this document, which has nothing to do with this case, but I'm just looking at the signature, the J is different from the J on this document. Let's take a look.
I don't find it different.
Let's take a look.
You never sign your name the same way twice.
Let's take a look. No, but this J is totally backwards.
It's
and
my
that's
opinion
totally
that
different.
That's his handwriting.
I'm just asking you about the J.
Okay,
that's
well,
totally different.
This other document, he signs, in my opinion, with several shapes to the letter J.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This doesn't strike you as being strange?
Yes, it does.
Somebody sends an I love you greeting card and signs it, love, Larry Huffine?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Larry Huffine says ex-girlfriend Sheindlin Donovan switched around his prepaid grave plots without his permission.
What do you say is his handwriting in
the
this?
Just the notary box.
In this?
Just in the notary box. Now, unless the whole notary area was cut and pasted on here, this is his handwriting in this lower
Which is
right
a
corner.
possibility.
Yes, without seeing the original, it is a possibility.
That is inconsistent, however, with his log.
Right, but his contention...
No, not his contention, but it's inconsistent with his log.
Well, his log states that just one individual came
Correct. Just one individual, and that's Miss Donovan, and she signed a cemetery affidavit. Okay. And it is your opinion that the signature on this cemetery document is his signature?
Yes.
Would you go over there and bring that board up closer to me so that I can see it?
I do have original documents, if you'd like to see them.
Okay, so the question signature
from this cemetery document is at the top.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I have not had the opportunity to examine the original, but if the copy shows that there was not a cut and paste and that this ink was placed upon the paper, then these signatures match exactly to these other signatures.
Some of these are from checks and some of these are from other things.
Correct.
Cards, greeting cards, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Put that back, please, Ms. McNichol. I'd like you up here, please. Are you telling me that you made your decision based on the documents that the defendant gave you?
Yes.
And one of the documents that she gave you was a greeting card. I have it here, Hallmark greeting card. I'd like to see the original. Bird, would you hand me the original, please?
I think that's all. There's several originals.
I just want to look at the greeting card.
A little strange with a love and a full name.
Isn't it?
This
is the one. Ms. McNichol, this doesn't strike you as being strange?
Yes, it does.
Somebody sends an I love you greeting card and signs it, love, Larry Huffine?
And the
He
date.
signed every card he ever gave me.
Everything she gave me was like
Larry D. Huffine, Larry Huffine, always. And it is strange.
3700, love, Larry Huffine.
I can only go on what's presented to me.
I understand. Thank you very much. Good. Now I will hear from your daughter. She's been dying to say something. I'm going to hear from you.
Your Honor, you have a letter right in front of you from the cemetery saying that the document is an original document.
No,
and
it's not an original. I don't have an original.
It's a true
It is a true.
I do not have an original.
The city of Las Vegas will not release it.
I do not have an original,
No,
and neither, listen to me, and neither did your forensic expert have an original. Now, your forensic expert could have seen the original, but your forensic expert does not have the original.
No, that's not what I'm referring to, ma'am.
Fine.
I'm referring to you have a letter before you.
I understand what you told me, that some clerk said that this is a copy of the original. I understand what you're saying to me. You're not going to be able to change that your forensic expert did not have the original. I have to make a judgment, and my judgment is based on several things. I believe, Ms. McNichol, that you are a qualified expert in the field of forensics. I believe that you were quite honest with me when you said that you did not have the original, and that perhaps, had you had the original, your judgment would have been different. Without having the original, you believe the copy of the document that I have is Larry Huffine's signature. I disagree with you. I have to ask myself why someone who had so carefully planned for the death of his entire family would have permitted a scenario where a stranger could be buried next to him. That's one thing. The timing of this letter is also very important. Miss Donovan would have me believe that Mr. Huffine would, during a time of domestic strife, be so kind as to permit the defendant and her daughter to move into a situation where a stranger is occupying the cemetery plots that he has bought and paid for. That doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. So I do not believe that he ever agreed to this. Now, I also find most bizarre a love card that is signed, Love, Larry Huffine. But some people maybe that's strange, and it is possible if that's strange. I have to make a judgment based upon what has a ring of truth to it. What has a ring of truth to it is Miss Donovan's daughter wanted to be close to her mother and close to the teenage boyfriend. And she persuaded her mother, who knew she was on her way out of this relationship, to forge this signature. I believe that that's what happened. And since I'm the final arbiter, because that's where you've put this case, your counterclaim, Miss Donovan, for damages due to defamation of character and slander are dismissed, and I am awarding Mr. Huffine the $5,000 that he has requested, which is the maximum possible allowance that this court can grant him, although I don't know how he can ever rectify the situation that has occurred with the cemetery plot. I doubt very much whether he can, and for that I am, sir, sincerely sorry. That's all. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
To be accused of forgery and fraud is not very pleasant.
She is good at gluing stuff on and whiting things out. I've seen her do it on prescriptions before.
He has a new wife now. I believe that she is very upset that there's not going to be a place for her.
She's evil. That's all there is to it.
Professional con.
I've never had the deed, Never seen the deed, never been in possession of the deed.
Just thank you, Judge Judy, for doing the right